All right, Thursday night, it's the Krug Show. Dieter's in the house. He's back. Best show of the week, according to Slice and Dice Killer. Somebody made a threat at Dieter already saying, Dieter better be here tonight. He had better be here. A lot of anger, a lot of Niner stuff. We're talking draft. We're 2 weeks away from tonight is round 1 of the 2025 NFL draft. He is Dieter. I'm Larry Krueger. Let's go. It's the Krug Show. Fire him up. All right, we're off and running on the Krug Show Thursday night. Brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out, and they do run out. So get there early, get some brisket chili. Tell them that Krug sent you. We're also brought to you by our friends at Sharp Corner, Sports Cards and Collectibles, 205 Cypress Avenue in Pacific Grove, California on the Monterey Peninsula. Thanks to Anthony Catania. He's at 831-521-5264. And we have to thank, of course, our good friends at LearnKey. The sponsor of tonight's show is LearnKey Upskill Academy, an online learning platform designed to get you job ready in 6 months or less, whether you're interested in any number of fields, IT, cybersecurity, marketing. They offer over 30 different certification programs to help you take that next step in your professional career. They're really credible. They do great things. They've been in business for 37 years. They've worked with over 200,000 students. They place hundreds of graduates every month in good paying jobs. And while you're checking out LearnKey and their Upskill Academy, why not test your football brain as well? Thanks to LearnKey, we have a brand new NFL draft contest on the Krug Show. It is our April Draft Selection Challenge, where you can predict the top 12 picks in the upcoming NFL draft. And if you win a $100 Visa gift card. It's totally free to enter. Just fill out the Google form linked in the description below, and your predictions for picks 1 through 12. Entries will be graded based on how many correct player to pick matches you get. First place, $100 gift card from Visa. Second place, a $50 Visa gift card. Plus, both winners get to come on the Krug Show during draft weekend and be on the show. So hit the link, lock in your draft board, and let's see who really knows their draft. Good luck, and big thanks to LearnKey Upskill Academy for sponsoring the show and the contest. And good luck to all of you. I will give you one hint and one hint only. Ashton Genty's not getting beyond the Bears. All my Bears people, I've got several moles around the country, people that I talk to that are in the know. There's a lot of, this time 2 weeks before the draft, normally there's all kinds of options.
Oh yeah.
The Bear people that I've talked to have made it perfectly clear that the Bears really badly want Ashton Genty to go with Caleb Williams, that they've already fixed the interior of their offensive line. They kind of like their tackles. They kind of like their defense. They'll take Mason Graham if he's there, but if Genty does not get taken by the Raiders, somebody said today the Niners ought to take him at 11. He won't make it to 11. From what I can tell, if he's there on the board at 10, the Bears are going to pounce.
And best of luck with all of that.
Because you're not a Genty guy. Dieter's not a Genty guy. Not a Genty guy. So
I don't see it. I mean, like we just watch the Penn State film. It does not.
He had 100 yards in that game.
I mean, that's great, but we're talking about a first-round top 10 running back. That requires transcendence. That requires Christian McCaffrey at Stanford. That requires Saquon Barkley at Penn State. That is a different threshold. I mean, even Bijan Robinson probably hasn't lived up to that hype yet, and Bijan Robinson was a god at Texas. So I don't dispute the fact that Ashton Genty is the number one running back on the board. That goes without saying. He is an outstanding player, and I would never take a running back in the first round, but that's, different strokes for different folks. And a lot more people seem to go to the stroke of take the running back in the first round. I just remember Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So, who am I to say?
Well, I mean, you say that you would never take a running back in the first round.
Yeah.
But don't you really mean that in your adult life, you haven't covered a draft where you would take, because I knew Barry Sanders was ridiculously
different
special.
sport. Yeah, I mean,
And I would have taken.
We're in
Barry
the '80s. I'm
Sanders in the first
taking
round.
Walter Payton 1 overall. I mean, when we
Or
were in
if
an
you want to
era
go way
when,
back, Barry, Billy Sims. I mean,
totally.
Billy Sims was going in the first round.
But there was a lot more of a connection. So one of the reasons that this is a lesser than it could have been running back class is because there are a few, and I think Singleton is the best example of this, players who said, why would I bother coming into the NFL, getting picked around 100, right? Because of the diminishing importance of running back, or at least the valuation of running back around the league. Get picked around pick 100, make just over $1 million when I can make $2 million or $5 million being a running back for Penn State in the case of Singleton. And so there are some good running backs that stayed in school for another year because, hey, the collegiate game is still built around the running back. The NFL game just straight up isn't. And back in the day, I mean, not that long ago, maybe 15 years ago, there was a lot more of a connection. You needed to have that true 3-down back, a LaDainian Tomlinson, even a Jerome Bettis from even further back. Like, you needed somebody like that to be your offense. That is just not the case anymore. It is, running backs have gone the way of starting pitchers. And while it is awesome to have a Spencer Strider or to have a Garrett Cole, those guys also get injured. And then what do you have? What you need is a lot of depth, and maybe you sacrifice something at the top level to get that depth, which is why I would never at this juncture in the NFL, with the way that the game is structured, even understanding the importance of a running back and understanding that you have to have a good one to be successful, or at least, good options to be successful. I just wouldn't take one in the first round. I don't think the value's there, but I'm probably galaxy braining it.
Well, it's I'm torn on this. I mean, I really am, because one, I'm a believer that running backs are kind of like bullets in your gun. If when you're out of bullets, there you can't shoot.
Correct.
And when you're out of running backs, you can't win. I mean,
so why would you invest in a very expensive bullet? Why wouldn't you just get a pack?
Yeah, I hear you, but I mean, then there's also who won it all. The team that went for Saquon Barkley.
Yep.
And what did Saquon Barkley do? He carried their ass.
He was
awesome.
He
absolutely did. I mean,
and what did Christian McCaffrey do the year before? He carried their ass.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So I'm just saying, a running back.
Neither of those teams drafted that guy, by the way.
I know, that's interesting too. But they also were for high first round picks, which kind of shows the pedigree. There is something to be said for pedigree.
Total threshold. And
look at Philly, Dieter, in the NFC Championship game. They ran 36 times and they won the game. And look at if you look at that same day, in the AFC game, you think of Kansas City, and they obviously won 32-29 in a little bit of a shootout. But they also ran the ball 35 times in that game.
And then they got to the Super Bowl and they couldn't run it.
26 times. But I'm just saying, both teams, in the championship Sunday, who won by running the ball 30 to 35 times.
And I've talked about this a million times, Larry. Like, it's a different sport when we get to December and January, right? That winter football is a different thing. You have to be able to effectively run the ball. But, we're 49ers focused. I do think it's important to note, like, the one guy who isn't really about that is Mike Shanahan, right? Like, the one guy who feels, Mike, Mike. Kyle does what Mike did, he branch off the tree. So,
but Mike always had great running backs.
Yeah, but he never invested in the running backs.
No, not necessarily. Yeah, Mike Anderson, Terrell Davis was a 6th-round pick. Yeah,
right.
I mean, in a way,
it was the system. It was the scheme. We can make them.
We're not even really talking. I mean, it's funny. We're talking about Shanahan. It's Bobby T.
That's a great point.
Bobby T has been the guy in both spots.
One connection.
Right? Yeah. Yep. So we're really talking about, hey, if it seems similar, it's the same guy who.
Yeah.
And here's the one thing that's hit me the last couple of years, Dieter, when we go to talk to the coaches before training camp.
Right.
And I always have a strategy. I like to go right over to Chris Kasarik on the defensive side, because to me, he's just so riveting and he's so intense. And so I want to get as much sound as I can get from Chris, right?
Yeah.
And the defensive line is always important. So I always go there. But for the offense, I like to go over to Bobby T, because I swear, man, it's going to come out that after the draft, the Niners are going to draft a running back because they always draft a running back. They may draft two. They'll definitely add two. They'll draft one. They'll probably sign one after the draft, or they'll draft two. But they're going to go get a couple running backs. There's going to be a dialogue, and Bobby T is going to tell us, like informally, not intent, no, with no intent, just kind of in passing, that he's talked to fill in the blank running back, Taj Brooks, Kyle Monangi, every day for like the last 2 months.
Of course, yeah. He's had his guys.
He's had his guys. And so the one thing that did catch my eye this week, Dieter, is there's a lot of people that feel they're trying to guess which back are the Niners going to get. And we're going to play that same exercise here. One of the guys this week that I saw, I think it was Steph Sanchez on Twitter, said that Jaden Blue said that he had met with a bunch of different teams. And then when it came time for the Niners, he said, oh, yeah, and I've met with them plenty. Like maybe he might be the guy that Bobby T is talking to every single day. And he went to Texas, and he's a super burner. What did Jaden Blue run? Didn't he run? Is he sub 4.3?
He ran fast.
It was sub 4.4, I know, but I might have been sub 4.3. He ran really fast. He fumbled 9 times. So I don't know if that's going to be too much, they're a fan of that. But I do find it interesting that running the ball, it's like, look at the teams in football this year that kind of, look at the way the season went this year. It's like the running backs were kind of important. I thought
they're always important.
This was kind of like a rekindling of the running backs. I mean, the Texans picked up Mixon, right? He had a career renaissance. They did well. It seemed like the teams
Derrick
that
Henry
did well,
goes to Baltimore.
Derrick Henry goes to Baltimore. He
goes
ran
for almost
well.
2,000 yards. I mean, Saquon Barkley ran for 2,000 yards last year.
Dallas did not get a running back, and they did poorly, right? I mean, Dallas had no running back, Dieter, and now it seems like that's on the top of their list. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. I understand the value in the draft going down because it's like running backs take a lot of abuse, and it's a short-term thing. You're not going to have a running back for 15 years. If you draft, let's just say Tyler Booker is going to play left guard in the NFL for 12 years, probably, if he's the kind of player that I think he is. Right. He's going to play a long time. A quarterback, Brock Purdy's going to be around for the next decade. But a running back, there is no running back that's playing today that's going to be there when Tyler Booker and Brock Purdy are at the end of their career. It's just a shorter deal. It's a shorter term deal.
Add into the fact that you have a lot of running backs because of COVID and extended eligibility that are coming out, and they're older than they used to be, right? You have a pretty old draft class. There's a lot of 23, 24-year-olds.
Yeah.
Well, we talk about running back drop off. There's one number. It doesn't matter if you've been in the league for 7 years or if you've been in the league for 3. The number is 28. At 28 years old, running back production falls off a cliff. Now, there are always exceptions to the rule. Derrick Henry's a great one, but Derrick Henry's always been the exception to the rule, right? Like, it doesn't make any sense that guy's playing running back. He should be a linebacker, but he's exceptional. At the same time, you're 28 years old. What happened with Christian McCaffrey? 28 years old, fell off a cliff. What happened with Deebo Samuel? 28 years old, fell off a cliff.
Essentially a running back.
Exactly. There is a pretty tried and true methodology to the 28-year-old rule. And when you're drafting guys who are a little bit older because they've been in college for another year or two, because there are apparently no rules about how long you can stay in college anymore, that is even more accentuating the point that you're making, which is they're here for a good time, not for a long time. And by the way, much like a tight end, a position where a lot of teams, especially teams that are competing, don't want to be throwing a rookie out there, right? You think about how tight ends need a year or two to get ready so that they can learn the playbook, the aspects of the position, because there are so many responsibilities that come with being a tight end, particularly when you transition from college where you're just a glorified wide receiver to now you are an offensive lineman first and a wide receiver second. You have to learn all that offensive line stuff. With being a running back, you're going to get on the field if you're a rookie running back in all likelihood on third down. Well, what's your number one responsibility if you're a third down running back?
Block,
make sure the
catch,
quarterback, That's exactly right. Make sure your quarterback doesn't get killed. You know what these guys coming out of college typically don't do very well? Block. Now that's not painting with a broad brush. Certainly there are guys who can do it. I should probably have a list. That would have been good preparation. Here we are. But that is the thing that they typically don't do well, is the thing that they have to do well to immediately get playing time. So unless there's 4 or 5 injuries above them on a depth chart. So the idea that, hey, at 28 years old, you've kind of gotten all the juice you can squeeze out of these guys already. They're coming in at 23, 24. It's going to be 25, 26 until we get them. But sure, let's use a first round pick on them. Come on. Yeah, it just rolled the dice on a bunch of them every year. I'd rather have 3 guys that you kind of like than 1 guy that you love.
Yeah, I'm a believer. Well, I'll say this too. I'm a believer in this is like an important position. It's like,
no doubt.
Stop drafting long snappers. Stop drafting punters.
Well, I mean, the Colorado School of Mines kid is pretty good at long snapping, and I wouldn't be shocked.
Stop drafting guys that are totally replaceable.
There's going to be all that when the Niners used a 4th round draft pick on a 27-year-old punter, that wasn't good business.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't like that, and I really didn't like the use of the 3rd round pick on the kicker. I mean,
but he's their leading scorer, Larry.
I know, but here's the bottom line on this stuff. If you're the smartest guy in the room, then be the smartest guy in the room. If you're not the smartest guy in the room, don't try to be the smartest guy in the room. They're not the smartest guy in the room, and they're trying to be the smartest guy in the room, and it is not working. Do not.
I'm with you.
Stop outthinking yourself. You haven't drafted a defensive lineman worth a damn in 5 years, but you've drafted a kicker and a punter, and both in the first 4 rounds of the draft.
And they're still on the roster because now you got sunk cost fallacy, which apparently the smartest guys in the room never learned about.
So I mean,
I'm with you, but just to the point, that is a further reason to not take a running back early. Now, again, I don't think it pertains to the 49ers. I think that if anybody, they're going to be as far away from that as possible. But ultimately, and maybe, doing the opposite of the 49ers is, in fact, the way to go about doing your business in the NFL these days. But if, the Niners take, as you just said, a kicker in the 3rd round, a punter in the 4th round, who knows when they'll take their long snapper next. Like, they will overthink it. They will go galaxy brain, all that. Isn't that all the more reason? Okay, well, kicker is the highest scoring player on your team. Kicker is vitally important, but nobody in their right mind is saying that you should draft him in the 3rd. You're right to say that you shouldn't draft him in the 3rd. So why would you take a running back in the 1st?
Because here's the best way to draft. And I've talked to I've talked to guys that I think are damn good at this. Mm-hmm. And I have great respect. I mean, I went surfing with Bobby Beathard when I was in college and talk to him about his philosophies.
It's just a wild sentence. I don't even know what to do with that sentence. I went surfing with Bobby Beathard in college. It's like a Mad Lib.
Seriously. And Bobby Beathard was my friend Kevin worked for the Chargers. During spring break, we were going to spring training. We stopped in San Diego, and we had a chance to hang with Bobby for the afternoon, and showed us his war room, and it was like right about now. It was a couple of days before the week or two before the draft. And he had a very simple philosophy, which is don't think about what a guy can't do. Think about what a guy can do. And look for greatness. Look for greatness, true greatness, and don't have a bunch of rules. So I don't have all those. I don't have any rules. I don't have rules like that. I don't have rules like, you know what? You can't take a running back here. You can't do this there. You can't take a corner here. My only rule is you can't pass on great players. Take great players. I don't care if you have great linebackers and you drafted a great linebacker and the greatest player on the board is a linebacker. Take another linebacker. Great players. Take great players.
Well, I don't think Ashton Genty is a great player.
Tons of injuries. Well, I mean, that's the thing. Then you can get to, do you think Genty's a great player? But take great players. So if you think Genty is Barry Sanders, then take him. All right. I'm going to share the screen here. We've got Lobs on Twitter who put this out, and then I kind of copied him. And so basically Twitter. This guy Lobs put out like he's like in the know. like who the 49ers number one guy is at every position. And he's obviously, I mean, I hope Lobbs is not trying to say I'm sourced. I think it's pretty safe to say Lobbs is just reading the tea leaves, but maybe not. Maybe Lobbs is Kyle Shanahan's burner for all we know. But he went with
against that layer.
49er edge one being Abdul Carter, 49er OT one Kelvin Banks Jr., 49er corner one Will Johnson, 49er D tackle one Derek Harmon, and 49er linebacker one Jihad Campbell. And I think he's only got one right, and that's Abdul Carter. I think the 49ers defensive tackle one is probably Mason Graham, and I would almost guarantee that. I think
he's unquestionably the number one guy on the board. I love Nolan more than anybody. But I mean, there is a separation between him and Nolan. And yeah, Mason Graham's the only one that you can justify taking in the top 10. Like, he's absolutely their number one guy.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's their number one guy now. And he is the number one guy, but you know, it's not always, doesn't always have to be, you know, they don't always have to be in lockstep.
Of course.
OT1, I'm guessing it's Armand Membu. And that's just because of the, you know, the dominance in his film. His film is really dominant. There's something about these Missouri guys. Some of the most dominant film I've seen, I feel like I watch every year, is somebody from Missouri. But he just looks really good.
That goes without saying. It's University of Missouri. But
they've had a lot of premier prospects, considering they don't win squat.
Okay, first off, cool it. Second, I was at the Cotton Bowl not that long ago. And they won plenty when I was there. So it's clearly just my involvement. Regardless, the reason let me throw two things at you here. I agree that Membu is going to be their one, not just because when he hits you, you stay down, but because he can scoot too. He can really move, and he has the positional versatility that gives them an easy win in the now and a long-term win in the future. You can play him at guard until you want to move him to tackle. Or you can play him at right and move McKivitz inside, which they won't do, but there's versatility there, which gives you the value. I will say this: if Josh Simmons was coming in healthy, he would have been their number one. He's the best offensive lineman in this class. He's just injured.
Well, I mean, wait a second. What's the injury?
Doesn't he have the huge meniscus issue?
I thought it was an ACL from last year. I thought he was over it. So
he didn't have tape for the second half of the year, and he had a big knee injury, and that's, you know, he's coming in injured. And so, you know, you can Trent Baalke it and say, we don't care. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, but he is clearly, when I watch the tape, specifically 23 tape, I love Membu. Don't get me wrong. I've been on the Membu train longer than y'all knew he existed, but Simmons is the best OT in this class. It's just a question on if you're ever going to get that Josh Simmons that we saw in 23. So I'm just throwing that out there that, hey, if Membu's off the board and the 49ers are picking at 11 and they feel some sort of way, just do not be shocked. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying I'm sourced on this or anything. They're pretty locked down over there at 49. But Josh Simmons has a lot of the traits that the 49ers would be looking for if they were to be looking in this direction, which I have no indication they are.
Okay, first of all, one thing that annoys me, I'm more annoyed by it than anything. It's groupthink. Okay, I am annoyed by groupthink. Okay, and that's what the draft becomes with a lot of fans. They establish...
They don't like putting in the work like us, Lair, and that's cool. They shouldn't. This is a stupid thing to do.
No, I know, but I'm just saying there's a lot of people. I mean, just think about this, because a lot of people are going to do this in the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
You're going to, not you, but people are going to establish value. I mean, I did sales for a while, okay? So I'm a Glengarry Glen Ross fan. I'm a huge fan of sales. And the whole sales mentality. I've studied sales mentality, which is the whole transference of emotions and the whole deal. Establishing value, and it's a big word salad.
Put the coffee down.
You drove up in a Honda Civic. I drove up in
A brand new Mercedes
Coffees for
Benz.
closers. Coffees for closers.
Second place, a set of knives. Third place, you're fired.
Yeah.
I'm legitimately a little bit peeved that
No.
I have a beautiful family and a beautiful wife that we all can't go to New York City and see what is apparently a wonderful rendition of Glengarry Glen Ross, one of my favorite movies and plays of all time, which Odenkirk and a bunch of other, I think Bill Burr is in it.
Wow.
Jack Black is in it, I think. They
So I'm a
got an
big
incredible cast.
I'm a big
Broadway.
sales fan, and I
Yeah.
I really believe that you got to under promise and over deliver. Okay, that's one thing of sales, but there's
Classic.
also people get value. I mean,
Mhm.
people don't really like when you're buying a product. Generally, you know what the price is before you buy it, but not always. Not always. Sometimes you have a vague idea of what the price is.
Right.
So I sold siding and windows for a while. Okay, in the house. So I Milgard and Anderson and all those windows,
Right.
Hardy plank siding and that kind of stuff. People would always establish value based on the first price they heard
Mhm.
compared to the price that they ultimately paid.
This is why people freaked out about inflation. Like 2% just drove people insane because you have an anchored thought of what it should cost. And when it turns out that the avocado is in fact 70 cents more expensive, not to justify it or anything. And I think it has an irrationally outsized level of importance because it like fundamentally shakes the foundation. So I'm exactly right.
These mock drafts are going on in the draft. How it applies to the draft, these mock drafts go on, and some of them are decent, but they're all just guessing. And they could be wrong by miles. It's a 7-round draft. They could be wrong by 4 rounds.
Oh yeah.
And it happens all the time. And yet people will establish value based on where a guy was being mocked in March and April as compared to where he goes, when everybody knows that if your premise is wrong, by definition, your conclusion's wrong. So, if your premise is that he was a first-round pick and then he goes in the second round, you're like, oh, man, that's great value. But what if he never was a first-round pick? What if he had an injury that he was disguising and hiding, and they found it out in the process, and he goes in the 4th round? Is he still a great value? No. So we don't have
the value is what the market
information.
determines him to be.
Yeah, but I mean, just this whole like, he's the one compared, and everybody's ones are always way too rigid. And the reality is that these boards, they're 32 different boards and with 32 different rankings. And the Niners may go Membu, Campbell, Simmons, Banks, Connerly, but the Ravens may go Connerly, Simmons, Banks, Campbell, Membu. I mean, it literally could be the opposite. In another board. So
add in the fact of scheme, right, Lair? Like the scheme matters a lot. There are some guys who are going to work better for XYZ schemes. There are some teams that have intangible characteristics that they put a great priority on. Like how much does he love football or character concerns? The 49ers spend a lot of time with John Lynch. I don't know if they're going to do it anymore, but when they came in, right, they inherited a roster that was littered with guys with character concerns. And it was a big deal under prior regimes, how many 49ers are getting arrested. And so it was made very clear to them in no uncertain terms, like we want to have a high-class operation. That's one of the reasons why you're here, John. You can recognize high-class people. You're a high-class guy yourself. And when they went a little bit awry early on in that regard, they had to then double down on high-class individuals. So they put that gold helmet bullshit that they talk about. That ain't bullshit to them. That is a high.
Well, they don't talk, and they won't talk about it anymore.
They won't talk about it anymore because we made fun of them so hard. But they believe in that shit.
Because Trey Lance was a gold star helmet guy, and he's a gold star.
Trey Lance is a shitty quarterback, but a pleasant, decent man. Nothing wrong with Trey Lance as a dude.
Well, why not just admit that your gold star guys have more to do with the guy than they do about the player? It's
correct.
More, you like the guy,
but this is what I'm talking about.
That's a guy you want on the team, and then you're deciding if you like the player. I wish they would, I'm sure it brought them embarrassment because Braden Willis was a gold star guy. He hasn't done anything. Lance is a gold star guy. He hasn't done anything.
Well, Braden Willis is still on the team somehow. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I get you. I get you entirely in that regard. I'm just saying, like, they put a priority on that, and the idea is we're coming into a vacuum. This is why it's fundamental for everybody, if you're going to be participating in the quote unquote grading of the draft, to have your own big board to a degree, right? And I want to point this thing out before we go any further. Like, most teams have a lot fewer draftable players on a board than I think fans think. Like, there are probably 600 guys, 400 guys, 300 guys. Like, these teams come in, they got like 150 at the max of guys that they feel they can draft.
What mock draft have you read? What draft guide have you read that says that this guy's a bad guy? This guy beats up women. That guy robbed from his neighbor. This guy, knocked off a liquor store. That guy's got a drug problem. This guy's addicted to meth.
I get those reports from people in the league. Yeah, I get them firsthand.
You don't hear about any of those.
You can't write it. You can't write it because it could be potentially libelous.
Right.
Like,
so,
that is,
but it's part of society. So guess what? There's somebody in this draft that has. There's somebody in this draft that has 3 DUIs.
Correct.
Do we know who it is? No, but the NFL teams do. Somebody in this draft is a great player and punched their girlfriend in the head.
Yeah.
I don't know who it is. You don't know who it is. Well, somebody here does. Somebody in the league does know. So that's why.
Right.
I've sat there. I can remember distinctly the year that he came out, saying to myself, man, I thought Aaron Hernandez was a way better player than that.
Right.
Right. And he went super low. Why did he go super low? Because the NFL securities flagged him as being a criminal behavior. And they're like, you know what? A bunch of teams stayed away, and he went in the fourth round.
He was shooting up outside a bar at the University of Florida, and everybody knew about it. They still took him in that's how good of a player he was.
Oh, he was a second-round pick. He was a second-round pick that was there in the fourth round, and you're sitting there going, why? So, like, if you're sitting there watching this draft in a couple weeks, and you're like, dude, they're idiots. They have more info than we do, okay? I'm not saying they're right. A lot of times they're just wrong, right? But they also have more info. So more info means more negative info. Mm-hmm. Negative info takes guys off your board. I like Derek Harmon, but our doctor said he's got a chronic knee. He's bone on bone. He'll play 2 or 3 years, and then he'll have chronic tendonitis, and he won't play. It's
going to be a thing. Don't worry. I don't love him enough to overlook it. Yeah.
Our doctor saw it in the report and saw the
at the combine, they have all these guys doing MRIs. Like, this is the other thing. Every player, it's like, what are your injuries? And they'll go, oh, I had a knee thing my freshman year, and then I got a shoulder thing. And they'll put them in an MRI machine. That's one of the reasons they keep doing it in Indianapolis, because they got MRI machines available for, at the stadium. Like,
when they discover crazy stuff. I mean, you remember the Garrison Hurst draft. They discovered he did not have an ACL in one of his knees.
Correct. He had the DeJuan Blair, or perhaps the Dieter Kurtenbach, because they looked in there one time and they're like, this doesn't make any sense. But that was a different story.
He was down an ACL. So, I mean, he'd obviously torn a ligament and never did anything to it and whatever. And then I'll give you an example.
He would have been Trent Baalke's favorite player.
Dov Kleiman, from wherever he's from, he covers the NFL out of Denver. He says, breaking, wide receiver Isaiah Bond has turned himself into the police last night due to an outstanding warrant for sexual assault per Ian Rappaport. He has since posted bond and was released.
Right.
I would imagine that unless this guy's agent can do some quick reconnaissance or damage control, this guy's probably going to fall in the draft, and he may not get drafted at all. And he's probably a late first to late second round talent, and he's probably not going to get drafted now. And
he's cost himself multiple millions of dollars.
Yeah, I mean, there might be somebody who's going to sit there on day 3 and say the Niners ought to draft Isaiah Bond, but the Niners. I mean, once again, sexual assault. I think that's where a lot of teams, and I'm sure the Niners are one of them, kind of draw their line in the sand. My point is,
there's also the aspect of that at this juncture, right? They're not going to have, in all likelihood, enough time to get a feel for the severity of the situation, right? When we're talking about Mike Green, the pass rusher out of Marshall, I posited, like, why is he at Marshall, right? In this era of unfettered transfers. He was at Virginia, leaves Virginia, was suspended by Virginia. No one really said why. Shows up at Marshall, has a good year in 23, doesn't go anywhere. And so you're like, ooh, that's kind of a red flag, because if anyone's even halfway decent, they're getting the bag from somebody at a higher
I like
level.
how that's a red flag. That could just be that he's a loyal guy.
Well, it turns out he has 2 sexual assault allegations against him that he
Right.
talked openly about at the combine. It was a red flag. Loyal guy, like not when you're talking about millions of
But
dollars,
there's
baby.
Eugene Asante, I mean, there's all kinds of examples of guys who stayed around and they could have gone and they stayed because they
Yes.
wanted to show loyalty. So it's not
Yes.
always a negative.
When I don't see the headline saying I wanted to show loyalty, I start to wonder, did anyone ask?
Yeah.
So it's different when we're talking about Quinyon Mitchell last year, and he's like, no, I wanted to stay with Toledo, even though Alabama came for me. Everyone knew Alabama came for him. He said, no, I'm going to stick with Toledo.
Well, Brock Purdy.
It's a totally.
Purdy, you think Brock Purdy couldn't have left Iowa State? He absolutely could have.
Was NIL in full effect?
Was the portal open at that point? The Brock Purdy of today, Brock Purdy, but I mean, Brock Purdy probably is the kind of guy that would have stayed at Iowa State, even if Bama came.
Probably, and he would have got. And he would have made some money off of, look how loyal I am. That's a very sellable point,
You got to look at it, though, because, like, when you see guys go from, they started at Georgia, LSU, Bama, and then they wind up at McNeese State.
Yeah.
There's usually a flunked out or got arrested, got kicked off the team. There's usually something bad going on. But then sometimes you'll see guys who go these days from McNeese State to Alabama, you know what I mean? Or Georgia. Right. Ben Urasek went from Stanford to Georgia, just because he wanted to play on a really good team. So it's like, if you look at it that way, it's funny. If you saw a transfer in the old days, you'd have to investigate. Now it's like, it's common. All right, let's get
now
through
you don't
this.
have the time.
Yeah, let's get through this. Let's go through and go. We'll go position by position.
Right.
And we'll just go quickly here.
And this is as it pertains to the 49ers or as it pertains to Dieter Kurtenbach?
What we're going to do here is we're going to go with who is the Niners' number one QB? Who's your number one QB? Who's my number one QB? And then we'll throw in a sleeper QB. So let's start then. We'll go down the positions.
Okay.
So and I'll share the screen so that people can see all the different names on here, so you guys can
appreciate
see
that. I could probably use it too.
And I know the audience would like to see. So we don't want to hide anything from you guys. So here we go. And then I'm using a website called Draft Tech. So if you guys want to check it out yourself, Draft Tech, DRAFTEK. Really good little resource, and it has a bio link to each one of these guys' bios at their school. So you can go right to the Jalen Milroe. You go right to Bama's bio on him. Tyler Shugg. You go right to Louisville's bio on him. All right, so quarterback. Who is the Niners QB1? Who is your QB1? Who's my QB1? And who's your sleeper QB?
I think
I'm writing this down. I'm keeping track here.
Okay.
I'm keeping track.
I will order for you here, Larry. I think we're all in on Cam Ward, right? Niners, Dieter, and Larry are all in Cam Ward as quarterback number one in a unimpressive quarterback class. No?
Yes. Okay. I am absolutely Cam Ward. So I will write Cam Ward there, and you're
Cam Ward across the board. And there's no question the Niners would be in on Cam Ward. I'll say this.
Niners are probably Cam Ward as well. And okay, so then let's go with the sleeper. Who's your sleeper quarterback? And a sleeper, I don't care how you define it. You can define it any way you want. For all I care, you can say Shedeur Sanders is your sleeper.
I mean, I kind of want to talk about Shedeur because I do think the Niners would be higher on Shedeur than most because of his accuracy. His ability, I know there was a lot of very short passes. The Niners have run that offense before. But his accuracy behind just an abysmal offensive line is very intriguing to me. And I know that would be something that the Niners would value because they put accuracy above all else on how they evaluate quarterbacks. Shedeur Sanders will not be a 49er, but ultimately, I do think that they would probably have a tighter gap between Ward and Sanders than maybe most would.
I really don't like Sanders. I see a guy who's got a huge opinion of himself, not that mobile, not that great of an arm.
Yeah,
threw
he doesn't
the ball
have the
short
a
a lot.
specs for sure.
Kuiper compared him to Joe Montana. Joe Montana.
He's very accurate.
Joe Montana? Come
Joe Montana?
on, man.
You telling me Joe Montana doesn't have a high opinion of himself?
No, but I'm just saying. I saw the bowl game.
That
I'm
was
not
a mess. That was a
I'm-
mess.
I'm not in on Shador, man. There's
Okay.
not enough there to hang your hat on. There's
I
not
agree-
enough
I
arm
agree
strength.
with that.
It's like a Trey Lance type evaluation where everybody's like, "Oh yeah, I love this guy," but then the arm strength, the processing, I mean, I do not think Shador Sanders throws with any anticipation. I see him guys get open and then he sees them open and then he throws it. I've almost never seen him lead anybody. If you got film of Shador leading people, I'd love to see it because I've watched
I'm sure
games.
I can find it, but you're right. It is not a general trait.
I don't like guys. He doesn't have great stature. He doesn't have great arm strength. He doesn't have great mobility. He doesn't have great processing. No. Way overdrafted. To me, not a Shador guy. Who's your sleeper?
We've talked about him before. Brady Cook, hyper elite athlete, shockingly hyper elite athlete. Did nothing but win games at Missouri, despite what Larry Krueger might think. And
I like him.
You know, there was an interesting comment made by Daniel Jeremiah the other day. I can't remember what show he was on. He's everywhere, the King of Spring, and he was doing a Toyota commercial or something with Brock Purdy because that's what Daniel Jeremiah does these days. He does Toyota commercials. And he asked Brock, what is the thing that we get wrong when we're evaluating quarterbacks? And Brock told him, and this is again all third party,
processing.
No, it's the ability to inspire teammates. The ability to lead men is the thing that's missed. And you're right. It's totally unquantifiable. And it's mostly a bunch of phooey. But if you can't inspire belief in your teammates, how are your teammates going to believe in you to do your job, which is a requirement to be successful on offense and be successful on defense too, right? Kind of going to the Jim Harbaugh line, the offensive line helps every position. Well, if you have a shitty quarterback, your defense is going to suffer. If you have a shitty quarterback, you're not moving the ball. Like, the quarterback is everything. And if that guy can't convince everybody to rally around him, how the hell is he going to get his game to the point where he can put something effective on the field? Brady Cook, for all of the warts that I saw last year, when again, he was injured left, right, center, north, south, east, and west, for all the stuff that you see in the lack of an elite arm, he has accuracy. He can throw with anticipation. He can move. He can really move. But he was beloved in that locker room, and he took a program that Larry Krueger likes to think has never won anything, and he did actually lead them to winning things. That matters, and if I'm taking a flyer on anybody in this draft, I'm going to follow the Brock Purdy blueprint of who can inspire my teammates, who can be a leader of men, because worst case scenario, at least I don't have to worry about a locker room mutiny if he's playing.
It's a great choice. It's an awesome choice. I love this player. I mean, Brady Cook is a tremendous player. I mean, I saw an interview that one of his receivers did, and the receivers hold this guy in such a level of respect that you would think that they're talking about somebody their father's age.
Correct.
I mean, they have such conviction in this guy and such love for this guy. It's really quite impressive. It really is.
It's baffling at certain points. Like, as a Missouri fan, week in, week out, you're like, let's cool it with all the Brady love. He's not that good, but like, that shit matters. It really matters.
Then to me, the old coach used to say to me, the most important thing, Larry, in a quarterback is you got to be smart as hell, boy, because there's all kinds of factors, So we're talking quarterbacks, and this kid's graduated from Missouri already, business degree, certificate in investments, and he's got a master's degree in business administration. So so he's got He's got a
It is a
master's.
diploma mill, to be fair. They just let anybody graduate from there, but that's neither here nor there.
But I mean, okay, so is he smart? Yes.
Yes.
Is he have good athletic genes? Yes.
Yes.
His mom lettered in one season in women's soccer at Truman State University. So his mom was a collegiate soccer player.
Yep.
Is he smart? SEC first team academic honor roll.
Right.
Is he a winner? Yeah. This kid's a winner.
Yeah.
Is he is he fast? Yeah. This guy's 6'2", 212, and he has a faster 10-yard split than Brock Purdy. He's faster than Brock Purdy. He's got like a 1.53 10-yard split. So I'm very impressed. And I like that. I like this player quite a bit. I will not take that player, but I agree with you. I like Peyton Thorne from Auburn, but I'm gonna, because he's son of a coach, grandfather was a coach. I think if I had to guess which guy the Niners will wind up with, my guess would be Peyton Thorne. I'd be thrilled with Brady Cook, but I'm going to say my sleeper quarterback. The one thing I'm not going to do is I'm not going to go against my instincts. My instincts.
Here comes.
My
Riley
instincts
Leonard.
here. My instincts are my instincts, and I love Riley Leonard. Riley Leonard is special, and I everything that I've seen about this kid tells me he's special. Yeah. He's a winner. He's an athlete. He's got plenty of arm, plenty of athleticism. And just this kind of super competitive kids. I mean, Notre Dame, didn't even have their star back at the end of the year, and he still got them into the national championship game.
Yeah, he's a gamer.
This guy has got something. I don't know what it is, and I might be, but he didn't throw well at Notre Dame, and I just assumed, well, he's got no arm. And tons of people said he had no arm. Those people are wrong. He went to the combine. He showed he had plenty of arm. I thought, was one of the better throwers of the football at the combine. He layered it down the field. He zipped it. He looked good and he looked natural. He was in rhythm. He put on that baseball cap. I thought that kind of helped him catch some rhythm. I don't know, but I like Riley Leonard, man. I know people that like Kyle McCord. I know people that like Quinn Ewers. I know people that like Dylan Gabriel. Damon likes Curtis Rourke, for crying out loud. Somebody likes Max Brosmer from Minnesota, but Dieter, I think the three guys that we just named there: Brady Cook, Peyton Thorne, and my guy Riley Leonard. I'll take those guys over every quarterback in this draft not named Cam Ward.
I'm stunned at the Peyton Thorne choice. Stunned because I ended up watching a lot of Auburn football at 11 a.m. this year, and boy. Same thing with Jackson Dart. Like I just can't do it. I just saw that guy throw away so many games this year, and those are the things that you can't unsee.
Well, what he is a great prospect because of his athleticism. He's very athletic. He's 6'1", 210. He's really smart. He's really mature. He processes what he sees. I like him. I think he's going undrafted.
Yes, okay. I don't like to make sure we're clear on that. Yeah.
I don't think he's, a good quarterback from that. I'll give you another guy that I'll be interested to see more about in the draft. I thought at the Niner Pro Day, the Cal quarterback played well. I mean, and he's small. He's not the biggest guy, but that Cal quarterback is not. Is his name Chandler Rogers? Is that his name?
Chandler Rogers. Yeah,
he's 6 feet tall. I'll say this though, he had a good zip on the football today. I mean, yesterday, he was really zipping it for a smallish guy. I don't love him, but so there you go. There's our quarterbacks. All right, let's go to running.
5 colleges for Chandler Rogers.
Yeah, well, there you go. So I haven't done enough research. All right, so let's go to running back. Who is the Niners RB1? Who's your RB1? Because it's not Ashton Genty. Who's my RB1? Who's a sleeper running back? What do you got?
I think the Niners RB1 would be Ashton Genty. My RB1 has flipped. It's Judkins now. I can't shake Judkins. It had been Henderson. It had been Henderson for a long time. It's Judkins now. His blocking ability put him over the edge for me. I really got into some of the pass pro stuff. And the sleeper, I'll go
Quinshon.
fairly. I'm sorry.
You're going with Quinshon. That's a big one.
Quinshon Judkins. Yeah, he's exceptional. There's nothing he can't do.
I love him.
He's really
He's
good.
4-4 and he finishes his runs. He runs with power.
Mean some bitch. Gets into tight spaces too. Like, I love Travion Henderson. I think Travion Henderson is smoother, calmer, cleaner. Judkins can sometimes take too many steps for me. That is an aesthetic issue that I've had to get over. Omarion Hampton doesn't have the in tight spaces, side to side movement that I'd prefer. He's more of a straight line burner. And I do think he tuckers out at a certain point on straight line. The guy that I love is DJ Giddens in this draft. He's not a sleeper anymore. Give me Trevor Etienne out of Georgia. For some reason, Trevor Etienne, who was one of the best running backs in the country at Florida, transfers to Georgia, plays the entire season going through injury, fighting through injury, playing through injury, showing up for big games, even though there's no viable reason why he should. This guy's out here taking licks. I think he has great pass catching potential out of the backfield. I think he's a really good running back between the tackles and especially outside the tackles. I think Trevor Etienne, the only thing that you keep from 2024 is his desire to be on the field for his team. You look at the 23 film and you can see why Georgia threw the bag at him. Etienne's getting mocked. And again, take all that with a grain of salt because of the groupthink. He's getting mocked 6th, 7th round. He is, I'd have him, where would I put him? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He is a top 7 running back in this class for me. Etienne.
He's good. He's good. When I did the interview last week with Eugene Asante, in preparation for that interview, I watched some of the other interviews he had done. And one of the interviews that he had done, he was asked, who's the running back that, was really hard for you to go up against? Who was the best back you went against? And he said Etienne. He said Etienne. Awesome. He said he puts his foot in the ground and he's really hard to tackle. He's really quick. He's really explosive. I think Etienne, that's a great one. Etienne, there's just another gear there for Etienne. He's just, totally. I don't know. I know he's maybe not the most powerful back ever.
Yeah, and he's not as twitchy as some of the other guys either. He's a little bit of a jack of all trades, master of none. But I'll take somebody who can do everything for me when we're talking about a late round flyer. If we're talking 2nd or 3rd round, that's a different conversation. We're not. And I think I would rather have this guy than Dylan Sampson. I'd rather have him. Devin Neal's
very productive. Dylan Sampson, very productive player.
Like Caleb Johnson's getting a lot of love out of Iowa. I don't personally see it. I think Etienne's a markedly better back. I think he's a much better back than Jaden Blue. I think he's a much better back than Cam Scatabo. I think he's a much better back than Marcus Yarns, who's getting all this love, or LaQuint Allen, who I can't justify drafting him. I like him better than RJ Harvey, but at least there's a conversation to be had there. I'm higher on Giddens than most. I think Hampton is really good.
But you've got Judkins. So you're saying Genty, the Niners would have Genty. He's their RB1. I'll say Genty's my RB1 as well. I think he's pretty freaking special, man. He reminds me a lot of Emmitt Smith. He's just really, really special. I know, I know the level of competition made him look like he's on a different level than everybody else. And he's not on a different level than everybody else, but I do like him a lot. And I think he's been the other thing that you have when you're in his, his boat, you're scrutinized. You're really, 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 really scrutinized. And he had one less than dominant day, and it was against Penn State's killer D that's going to have about 9 guys drafted off of it. People are like, look, he's been found out. I don't think he's been found out. I think he's really, really
get
good.
To play UNLV 3 times in a year.
No question. I mean, he's not head and shoulders the best, but I do think he's the best. And I love Judkins. I think that's a great one.
Judkins just had such great games against such good teams.
My
look at the game against Penn State.
I love RJ Harvey from Central Florida. 4.4 speed, 18.5 miles an hour at 10 yards, number 1 in the class. 14% of his runs gained 15 plus yards, number 2 in the class. 8.2 yards per carry on outside runs. To me, he's a perfect scheme fit. That's, by the way, number 1 in the class. And the to me the drills or the pre-draft stuff that I like to look at, because I think it really matters for these guys, is I like to see which backs have the true juice in their legs with the jumping. And he was 93rd percentile explosion score in vertical and broad. So, I mean,
38-inch vertical, 10-7 broad.
Yeah, I mean, you see the springiness. To me, he's Darren Sproles as far as explosiveness, but with way more heft, way more ability to push the pile. And also,
he's 5'8", 205 pounds. What are we talking about?
Yeah, this guy's good. This guy carries a lot of weight from the waist down. He's very thick. So, I mean, he's short, but he's not small.
I think you're giving the Big 12 way too much credit on that.
I just love this player. I mean, I've seen enough of him.
I get it. I think he's a home run hitter.
The other guy that I also would have on my list, and he's more of a late round sleeper. I don't know if I can call RJ Harvey a sleeper, because he's probably going to go in the 3rd or 4th round. But whatever. Taj Brooks, on the other hand, is not going to go in the 3rd or 4th round, and that guy's awesome. His numbers, I don't have them in front of me, but they're great. They're great. He's got great numbers. And he's one of the most productive backs in the country. He's a tackle breaking machine. He's 5'9", 220. He doesn't have breakaway speed. He's not that kind of a back, but he's just a churning, he knows how to read a block. He just knows how to read everything. He's just not a lot of negative yards. He's really powerful. He runs through arm contact. Taj Brooks just been one of the most, and according to more than one person that I've talked to, they say that Taj Brooks is the best blocking running back in this draft.
I believe that.
And to me, since I know Bobby T,
Tech's got some mean sons of bitches on their team.
I know Bobby T is he's tough to play for, but he's really tough to play for if you don't do the meat and potato stuff. If you dance in the hole, Bobby T doesn't like you. He's not going to like Le'Veon Bell.
And so you're the guy who I've comped to tiny Le'Veon Bell is the guy that you like for that. Then that's what when I see Taj Brooks, I see nothing but patience. I see nothing but I get what you're saying. I'm not saying it's a negative, but like he's a lot more Le'Veon Bell than he is Alvin Kamara.
I don't think so. I mean, Le'Veon Bell danced out of, and this is like what he liked. You could tell it was like what made him comfortable. It was like a shimmy. He loved that. That was what made him feel like an athlete. But it was wasted. It was wasted. This guy is efficient in movement. There's no extra movement here. Taj Brooks is going to just, he's not doing anything for effect. Everything's for, extra yards. So I'm a big Taj Brooks fan. I just think that he's been, I'm a believer in production. At the end of the day, we can look at the 40s. We can look at this and the 3 cones and all this garbage. What really matters is the film. And the best players are the best players. And sometimes in the springtime, in the weeks before the draft, guys who aren't the best players get forced up the board because of times and workouts and whatnot. But by the time the draft rolls around, typically the best players are the best players. And Juwan Jennings gets drafted despite the fact he's slower than offensive linemen. You know what I mean? Because he's a good player and everybody kind of realizes it. So yeah, I'm going to go Taj Brooks or RJ Harvey. Genty is my guy. And I would say the Niners is Genty as well. All right. Wide receiver. Who's your WR1?
Burden. It's Burden. That's for me. I would say that the Niners would probably, now this is tough because there is a question of need. And I think that they would go with McMillan as their one because of the big playability. I'm not a big McMillan fan personally. I see him mossing a lot of guys. That shit ain't going to fly at the NFL level. Randy Moss had 15 yards of separation when he was at Marshall. That turned into him, mossing dudes in the NFL. What happens when you're already just jumping over dudes to get balls when you're playing in the Big 12 and then go forward. So I do think that because of his big playability, his unparalleled top of the class contested catch ability, the Niners would look at McMillan as a very viable X receiver. I think that battle with Burden would be a lot closer than maybe it would be on some other boards because of Burden's versatility inside the scheme and his, hate to do this because it's unfair to compare anybody to this guy, but his Debo-like aspects where you can put him in multiple places in the formation and his after the catch potential. I would have Burden as one. I'm not a big McMillan guy. I think the Niners would have McMillan as one with Burden close behind. Don't sleep on Ibuka though. And my sleeper pick, this is a good one. Jackson Meeks out of Syracuse has something to him, man. I like Jackson Meeks out of Syracuse. He is he's a really good route runner. He snatches the ball out of the air in a way that he just doesn't have those elite athletic traits, but he gets a lot of separation nevertheless. So I'm always looking for somebody like a Jennings, one of my favorite players in the NFL, like a Bo Melton. Ricky White would be my Bo Melton of this class. So maybe that should have been my answer. UNLV wide receiver. I love Ricky White, who had terrible testing scores to the point where when you watch the film, you go, oh, he had to have been injured during those tests. But I'll go with Jordan Meeks out of Syracuse as my sleeper. I think he's the guy who, when we're talking about, fantasy and maybe, making a team as a starter, whether it be for the Niners or somebody else, like who the hell's Jackson Meeks? I'll be able to tell you who Jackson Meeks is in a couple of months when everyone gets to learn the name for the first time.
I'll say this. So you've got Burden. I got Burden as well. Yeah. There's no Luther Burden, I think, is the best receiver in the draft. I think the Niners, because they need, if the receiver that they really need is Egbuka, because they need a receiver who's ready to play right now. And he's ready to play right now. I mean, they don't have Ayuk. They're looking for somebody they can put on the field in week 1 who can run patterns and get open and do stuff. And Egbuka is definitely the most polished. Otherwise, I'd say maybe Matthew Golden because of the speed. But I would think it's going to be Egbuka because of the route running. And I mean, if they loved Ricky Pearsall last year, then out of that group, then you got to love Egbuka out of this group, unless you're looking for something different.
2.0. Wrong with Robert Woods. He'll be your number 2 receiver forever. Just forever.
I would say my sleeper receiver. I mean, it's hard to say with receivers because
it's tough and it's so scheme dependent.
I'm going to give you it's really
I'm going to give you 2 more names while you give me one. Deontay Thornton. If you're thinking about Matthew Golden, just get Deontay Thornton off the clearance rack on day 3 because he's 6'4" and runs just as fast. Now Golden's a much better player.
Go look at it before you get too hyped on Dante Thornton.
I'm not hyping him. I'm just saying.
Go look at his game log.
Oh no, he's an awful receiver. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing out there. He's an objectively bad receiver. But if you're just looking for someone to run a clear out route, which kind of would be what the Niners would be looking for with a Matthew Golden, save yourself some money, save yourself some headache. Go get Deontay Thornton because he can run a clear out. That guy's going to take the safety with him, whether he can catch the ball or not on the other side. And then the one guy who I think has a chance to dramatically, right? I don't think that as much as I like Jackson Meeks is never going to be a number 1 receiver. But a guy who has a chance to go from who the hell is that to let's call him the Puka Nacua of this draft, right? Not in shape or size or anything, but in terms of 5th rounder, 6th rounder, and now suddenly is catching 110 balls week 2 in fantasy. There's a bidding war for him. Andrew Armstrong out of Arkansas, who led the SEC in both receptions and yards last year, and no one wants to draft this guy, even though he has totally viable testing. Andrew Armstrong's a really good player. He had really shitty quarterbacks. He had a really shitty offensive coordinator. Shouts to Bobby Petrino. Andrew Armstrong has a chance to be really special. He could also not make the team, but you don't worry about that too much because you're picking him so late. You're paying him less than $1 million to show up and see what happens. And if you cut him, you lose nothing. Andrew Armstrong has a chance to be a star, and that's the only guy on day 3 that I feel comfortable saying that about.
There's a lot of day. I think this is a great day three draft.
Unbelievable day 3 class.
But since we're asking the question, who's the best? Who's the Niners are WR1? Who's our WR1? We're not saying who's our favorite. We're saying who's WR1.
Right.
And then now we're asking for sleepers. So sleepers are not necessarily your favorite guy either. It could just be a sleeper. My favorite receivers, Jalen Royals and Savion Williams. And Ty Felton. I love those 3 guys. Felton's skinny, catches tons of balls. Savion's just beastly. I mean, he's the guy that I absolutely, people would wear this guy's jersey.
No question.
There would be so many Savion jerseys out there. Oh my God. He's so
he's everything Malachi remember Malachi Corley? The guy last year who everybody's like, he's the next Deebo Samuel. This guy is everything Malachi Corley was supposed to be.
Yeah, this guy's way more physical than Malachi Corley.
I thought I was taking crazy pills with all the people talking about Malachi Corley last year. By the way, last time we talked about Malachi Corley.
Seriously. And he'll be okay in the NFL. He's just not great. Okay, so
he's not going to be on a team in 3 years. That's okay.
I think he'll be in the NFL. I just don't think.
I think Savion, if put.
You don't think he's going to be in the NFL in 3 years? I think he'll be in the NFL.
Malachi Corley?
Yeah, he was a first-round pick, wasn't he? Second-round pick.
Second-round pick.
Okay, but there's all kinds of guys that are going to wind up in day 3 here. A bunch of guys. I mean, Arian Smith's a terrible receiver, but he's a burner. Day 3 guy. Think he can play in the NFL. Ricky White's a day 3 guy. Keandre Lambert-Smith's a day 3 guy. Juice Wells is a day 3 guy. Nick Nash, who was at the Niner Pro Day 3 guy. There's a couple guys, though. Daquan Felton, you didn't mention him. Zachary Franklin from Illinois is one of my favorites. And Elijah Badger from Florida, one of my favorites. But you know what? I'm going to go with a legitimate, deep sleeper at receiver. I'm going with the guy that I saw yesterday at the Niner Pro Day. Were you there yesterday? Did you go to the Pro Day? Did I lose Dieter? Can you hear me? You're muted. You're muted.
No, I didn't go to the Pro Day, Larry. I muted myself to cough, and
sorry about
I never unmuted myself. Yeah, it's okay. We were all losing our minds anyway. Who did you like? Who was the guy?
I'd never even heard of this guy.
I love it.
Until I saw him at practice yesterday. And then I called Dave Softy Mahler because Softy's a big Washington Husky honk and does a lot of the pre and post. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know
they have a slot receiver named Giles Jackson.
Yes. His name is Giles Jackson.
Giles Jackson.
Like is that a great name? Guy. It's a great name.
Giles Jackson. Giles Jackson. It just sounds like, touchdown Giles Jackson. I mean, Greg Papa would have so much fun with that one. Giles Jackson. Just a great name. Anyway, he's a 5'9", 181-pound slot receiver for the UW Huskies. Yeah. He's a Bay Area kid, Dieter. He went to Freedom High School in Antioch.
Yep.
He's obviously a good player. He was a 4-star prospect coming out of high school. He got a full ride to Michigan. We're right there. That tells you he's a player. Then he leaves Michigan for UW, but before he left there, he played as a freshman, and he had like a kick return touchdown or a punt return touchdown.
Kick return
as a freshman. Okay. 4-star high school recruit. What I like about this guy, he's tough as hell, durable. Dave says he's an incredibly durable player. 6 years in college. He ran at the Washington Pro Day 4.45. But when I talked to Dave about him, Dave's like, dude, he's a 4.3 guy. He's super fast. And if you look at some of the reports on Draft Buzz, they say legit 4.3 speed. So he ran 4.45. But then you look at the production this year. He caught 85 balls for 893 yards and 7 touchdowns. Immediately I go to, how did he play in the biggest games? Well, the biggest games on this guy's schedule this year were the bowl game and the Apple Cup. In the Apple Cup, 8 catches for 162 and a touchdown. In the Sun Bowl against Louisville, 11 catches for 161 yards, and wait for it, 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Giles Jackson, Dieter, you know they ran the same stuff in the pro day that the Niners run at practice, and you're at practice, so you know exactly what it is. They run that drill where they zigzag back and forth, and then they catch the ball.
Yeah.
This guy's stop and start ability and his explosiveness on the cuts was like noticeable. It's like, Jesus, look at this guy. This guy's, I mean, he was trying so hard.
Yeah.
And it was Giles Jackson is my sleeper.
You think he made 49ers training camp out of that pro day?
I mean,
they always get one. They always get one.
I'm watching this guy, you know, and this is the old scout side of me. It's like, I'm watching this guy and I'm like, I don't know anything about that guy.
Yeah.
Who is that guy? I'm like, looking at him.
Feeling in the world.
I don't know anything about that guy. Look at that guy. So, you know, there's an old saying, let your eyes tell your brain what they see, not your brain tell your eyes what it saw. In other words, don't go read the program and figure out who all the best players are before you go watch practice. Go watch practice and let your eyes tell you who the best players are, so you're a little bit more unbiased, so you don't have a preconceived notion. People don't realize how powerful preconceived notions really can be. Totally. If you're predisposed to thinking, you know, it's almost like the way the NFL's officiated. It was a catch. Unless there's overwhelming visual evidence that says it's not. Well, we're predisposed for it being a catch.
Right. You've got to confirm the call.
Anyway, long story. Giles
anchoring.
Giles freaking Jackson.
I'm excited to watch him a little bit more. I know who you're talking about.
Mitchell Ness. Put Larry in a straitjacket. I think this draft has made him go mad. There you go. Thank you, Mitchell. All right, tight end. Who's your tight end one? Who's the Niners tight end one?
Warren. It's Warren. There's only one good tight end in this class. His name is Warren. Warren's one on
Tyler
my board.
Warren, and that's yours?
Yeah. Maybe
would the Niners draft him?
At 11, yeah. Yeah, he's a legit.
Is it a mistake if they do?
No.
I mean, Dieter, you know the way it goes. They have Kittle. They can only go 12 personnel and go.
Well, they also have Farrell, who apparently is the key to it all. You know, they won't. Should they? Yes, they absolutely should. They won't, and they won't have the chance because this guy's not. He's not getting to 11. For everything I was saying about Genty, the opposite applies to Warren. He very much belongs in the same class as the early tight ends that have been selected, right? I hate this tight end class. We talked about it last time. I love Tyler Warren. I can't find a problem in his game at all.
Awesome.
I think he's a lot closer to Brock Bowers than people are giving him credit for right now. I think that people are still sleeping on Tyler Warren. He's the number 2 guy on my board. I think people are sleeping on Tyler Warren.
Okay, so here's the thing about this. I think there's too many people that are too comfortable. And what I mean by that is it's like there's a lot of failure in the draft, right? There's a lot. Guys fail. Guys fail because they're bad guys. Guys fail because their body breaks. Guys fail because they're lazy. Guys fail because they're stupid. Guys fail because any number of reasons, right? They slept in late. They missed the team bus. They're not accountable. Whatever. As many excuses, as many reasons as people get fired at your place of work.
Face.
You know, guys get fired in the NFL for the same reasons. The guy's great, but he can't ever show up. He's not accountable.
Yeah.
Guy's great, but he's got a major drug problem. He's got a major alcohol problem. He's got a major this problem. He's got a major that problem. Guy's great.
You don't like his face.
He can't keep his what in his pants. I mean, Correct. He's
that's a lot more common.
Anything that moves, he's just there. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's reasons that guys get derailed. Okay. So this guy is one of the safest picks. If I'm the 49ers, you've drafted Reuben Foster. You drafted Trey Lance. You drafted Solomon Thomas. You drafted Mike McGlinchey. You have not done well in the first round. Stop going for need and hoping that you can find the right guy in your need and go get the safest pick. What do the Niners need in this draft? They need great players. They need great players at any position.
Well, they
and
need
if
like
you
7
and other
defensive
other teams, Eric DeCosta and the Ravens do this every year. They don't have a philosophy. They play the draft as it comes to them. That's how you wind up with a Pro Bowl center. That's how you wind up with they don't lunge for this. We need to have a safety.
They're never picking this high. They never have the
they never are. But they're always waiting to see who falls to them, and then they pounce.
Yeah, as you would if you're constantly picking at 27, 28, and 30.
Yeah, but I mean, they're not always picking there. Where did they get the center from? Linderbaum. They got him in the teens. So my point is 19. Just that Tyler Warren is one of the safest picks in the entire draft. The bust chance on this guy is so little. He's strong. He's powerful. He's healthy. He's done it in the biggest conference.
Linderbaum was the 25th pick for what it's
25th. But I mean, they've done it with other picks in the teens as well. They just they look for where value establishes itself. They don't sit there and go, we have to have the next receiver. It's Ricky Pearsall. Fine, we'll take him. It's like, no, they're like, you know what? We're going to take the best player. And Tyler Warren, if the Niners get to 11 and they're looking at some of those options that are there, man, I mean, we can talk about it right now if we wanted, but I mean, there's all kinds of problems with Shamar Stewart and different guys, Banks. To me, there's flaws on these guys that could make them bust. I don't think Tyler Warren's going to bust. So if you're the Niners, at what point do you say, you know what, let's just give a solid single to left and get onto the round 2, as opposed to let's find, some sleeper pick. Let's take some guy that we see value in, but the rest of the league thinks is a mid-second round pick, but we're going to take him higher because we know more than how about stop knowing more than everybody else and just hit a solid single, a solid double. You know what I'm saying?
That should be the slogan for your show. Stop knowing more than everybody else.
Well, no, but I mean, stop pretending you know more than everybody else.
Yeah.
How about just take the obvious pick? Tyler Warren to me is a very safe pick. Very safe pick.
They won't do that, but you're right in saying they should.
You don't think
Sleeper? I'll give you a deep
who's your sleeper tight end?
Gavin Bartholomew out of Pitt. See if you can even find him.
No, he's here. I see him. 6'4", 241. What do you like about him?
He's like the only guy in this entire class outside of Warren and maybe Jalen Connors, who's very good. Terrence Ferguson I like. But like he's the only guy who actually blocks and then can also receive the football. He's a super fluid athlete. He moves a lot better than anyone's given him credit for. He was the go-to guy for Pitt on offense, which is kind of an embarrassment of an offense. There's something about it. This is the guy who just makes the team and just keeps moving up the depth chart, just keeps getting more and more playing time. And by the end of his rookie year, you're like, is Gavin Bartholomew kind of a thing? He reminds me a lot of Daniel Bellinger from the former San Diego State guy who I think plays for the Giants now. Just gets it done, man. Just a classic tight end. Gavin Bartholomew, 7th round. Well, you got these picks in the 250s or whatever. Take Gavin Bartholomew.
I like it. I got 2 that I like. I like Jackson Hawes from Georgia Tech, who played 5 years at Yale. He's a really good blocker, but also he made some amazing catches in some of the all-star practices. He doesn't have tons of experience as a receiver, but he's smart. He's smart. And then another guy from the local pro day yesterday that really impressed. Really, 2 guys. They're both at Bay Area ties. One's Jermaine Terry, the second from Oregon State. 6'4", 250, very athletic. And the other is my buddy's son, who played at San Jose State, Dominic Mazzotti. And I don't know if you saw this. Mazzotti is 6'5", 255. He graduated high school. He weighed like 180. He's now 6'5", 255. His dad played at Sac State and was in my fraternity in college and is a good buddy of mine. I saw his son playing at San Jose State. He finished up this year and transferred to UMass and finished at UMass. But he's a really, really good receiver, and he's a really good athlete. Like he was running, he's not a blocker per se. He's not a big, powerful blocker. He's going to have to work on his strength and his upper body.
You're being generous,
as far as receiving, he's a really good receiver. Really good receiver. I think very underrated receiver and smart. Former quarterback, so he's really smart. So Dominic Mazzotti. I'll put Mazzotti and Hawes, Spencer Hawes.
Okay.
Or not Spencer Hawes. Spencer Hawes was in the NBA, right? Jackson Hawes.
Spencer Hawes was a center in the NBA. That is correct.
There you go. All right.
Yeah, Dominic Mazzotti had 2 catches for 29 yards against Missouri this year. That's
okay.
my barometer.
He's no
Jacoby James, who had 6 for 80.
Offensive tackle. Who's your OT1? Who's the Niners OT1?
Membu, and then let me pull up a sleeper here.
Membu for you.
Membu for me, Membu for them, and then sleeper. Ozzy Trapillo is really good. He's got a chance. He's got a real chance to be a special player out of this. Great run blocker. I'm a big Wyatt Millum guy. I don't think he qualifies as a sleeper. So give me Holland Pierce, who I've been on for a long time. Holland Pierce out of Rutgers. Just a monster of a man. Just humongo. And just it eats you like an amoeba. Just takes you in and spits you out. Takes the mitochondria and goes to work on you. Holland Pierce moves so well for someone that big. And when you're catching him at this juncture, you still have a lot of development to do because he's still learning a lot of it. He looks like he's in physical pain moving, but he moves really smoothly. Holland Pierce is my guy. I want to take a flyer on Holland Pierce.
There's a few for me. I love Caleb Rogers, Miles Hinton, Esapole, but the guy I'm going with is Carson Vincent from Alabama A&M. 6'7", 314. 314 pounds. This guy, I love the attitude. This guy wants to seek and destroy. He needs development. He's a developmental tackle.
That's for sure. His tape is awful.
Yeah,
legitimately awful.
But you're talking about a guy who's got the NFL body. He's got great arm length, and I think he's a terrific prospect. I like him a lot. I think he's a guy that could really, really shine.
How do you feel about Charles Grant out of William and Mary?
Oh, I love him, but the only thing is the footwork is it's like he panics from time to time.
A lot of tapping. I call it singing in the rain.
Well, he gets his feet kind of twisted, and he's in tangled a little bit. I mean, he's so cognizant of what he's doing with his hands and his set and everything that his feet get tripped up, and then also. He's a little underpowered. I mean, he's a very much a developmental player. I don't think he's strong enough right now to play. I think he's kind of reminds me of the Yale guy who went to the Bears. Was it Amagaji or whatever?
Yeah.
As far as just developmental, he's a developmental player. So he may go in the 3rd round because he's a developmental tackle, but I think he's a developmental player. I'm not. Yeah. I like him as a prospect, but I like him. I don't like him where this is a classic example. If this guy were a guard, he would go in the 5th or 6th round. But since he's a tackle, he's developmental. He's probably going to go in the 3rd round. He's probably going to go right. pick 90 or something like that. So it's like, I don't know. I wouldn't take him at pick 90, but I definitely think he's a sleeper. But I'll go Carson Vincent. How about guard wise? Who's your guard? Who's guard 1?
Can I say Membu again? Probably Booker. That's tricky. You give me yours. I'll come back.
Mine's definitely Booker. I think Booker's a Hall of Famer. I think we're going to look back at this thing and go, man, Tyler Booker was in that draft and people didn't take him. I know his workout numbers don't look good. He's not a workout guy. He's a seek and destroy, absolute destroyer. I think the 49ers ought to trade back in the 1st round and start their draft with this guy. This is a culture changer for them. This guy is going to enable you to run the ball inside the 5. He's a bully. He's a monster. If you had Booker, you would have a much better offensive line. He's just so dominating. The film work. I mean, I remember watching Chance Warmack and some of the guys they've had there, DJ Fluker, and some of the guys who've come out of Bama in the last 5 or 6 years. None of those guys hold a candle to this guy. This guy is absolutely. He's got the best balance. He's got the longest arms. He's got the most power. He finishes people into the turf. He's just an absolute destroyer. I think this guy is going to rival Quentin Nelson as the second best guard in the game. I love Booker. I think he's terrific. I think if I were the Niners, I'd start with Booker.
I go Donovan Jackson. One. I think that the Niners probably like Donovan Jackson more than they like Booker because Booker's three cone isn't going to be very good. I
think you're right. I think Niners probably have Jackson. Heck, they may have Gray Zabel as the.
That's a very viable option. And then
who's your sleeper? You know, mine.
Luke Kandra out of Cincinnati's really, really good. He'd be one of them. Who's sleeper? Does he qualify? Drew Kendall, Boston College, has a chance to be an elite center. I like Clay Webb out of Jacksonville State. I have to go with one, so let's go with Kandra. He was one of the best offensive linemen in college football. Excellent size, really good athleticism. I mean, just mean. He's a mean son bitch. Not clean, but mean. And I feel like a lot of the sloppiness with hands can be easily coached out of him because he has the temperament to play on the interior that I don't necessarily see across the board. See a lot of guys who don't have the athleticism to play on the outside in what are spread offenses at tackle, and so they can't get out and do anything. So they don't have that athleticism, so they stick them on the inside. And you gotta wear the neck roll. You gotta have the bullhorn on the helmet. You got to be willing to punch somebody in the neck for me here. You want a little Richie Incognito in all of your guards. I think Kandra's got it, man. And he put up some absolutely stellar PFF numbers at Cincinnati. I really enjoyed watching Cincinnati's line last year, which is that's the sickest thing I'll say on this show, that I really enjoyed watching the Cincinnati Bearcats offensive line last year. So give me Luke Kandra. He should be going a lot earlier than he is appearing to go.
They list him at 165. So
Luke Kandra at 165.
He's the 8th rated tackle or 8th rated guard at number 165 total. So that's probably in the 5th round.
I love it. I love him there.
I like. I love Marcus Ware from Montana State, but I think he's more of a center. They list him here at guard. They moved Willie Lampkin to center, so I'll leave him because I do think he's more of a center. I like Garrett Dellinger from LSU. 6'4", 325 pounds. He's healthy. He's powerful. He moves well. Played against the best competition in the country. Really held his own on the All-Star circuit. I like Dellinger. You could tell watching Dellinger go in the one-on-ones that he has no. He's gone up against really good players at LSU. He's not going to be, in any way overwhelmed by the competition. So yeah. Dellinger, I like Garrett Dellinger from LSU. Center wise, who's the center one for you, the Niners, me? Who do you got?
Gray Zabel is going to be center one if you want to put him there. Not a good center class. Not obvious centers. A lot of guys you have to move over. Georgia kid, Jarrett Wilson, probably going to be one. But I would, if you have Zabel as a center, he's probably C1. If not, it's probably Wilson, who's very, very good.
Yeah, I would say maybe the Niners have Wilson too, but maybe Jake Majors. I could see Jake Majors.
Yeah, but Majors is like a 5th round product. That tells you how far we're falling. I prefer Drew Kendall to Majors. I prefer, and then not to get full into this, but like now you're Clay Webb. I'd almost prefer over Majors, the Jacksonville State guy who was former University of Georgia, who got bumped because they had Jared Wilson. Just not a good center draft if we're talking Jake Majors. At center, I mean, Clay Webb. Clay Webb.
I kind of like Eli Cox from Kentucky, 6'4", 311, kind of tough. And then of course I like Willie Lampkin.
Yeah.
So there we go. We've got we got guard, center. We got quarterback, running back, wide receiver. Yeah, we got every position on offense. All right, let's see if we can move defense quicker.
We're gonna do it.
Defensive end, edge. Who's the Niners' edge one? Abdul Carter.
No, it's Mykel Williams. And that's mine too. It's Mykel Williams.
You're all in on Mykel Williams?
Yes.
Why are you so in on this guy? He had 14 sacks.
Because all he did was win every single goddamn rep he took against double team after double team after double team. Always look at what the opposing team does. They'll tell you who the most important player is. And every snap you watch of Mykel Williams, the other team was petrified of Mykel Williams. Petrified. Meanwhile, I watch Abdul Carter play West Virginia, and they're like, you know what? We're going to let our day 3, day 2 tackle go one-on-one with them. And he won. Wyatt Millum won more than Abdul Carter did. I'm very concerned with Abdul Carter's ability in the run game. I think Abdul Carter is overrated.
He's an edge rusher. But you're saying the Niners think that. I don't think that. I think
the Niners already have.
Niners have Abdul Carter, number one. You have Mykel Williams. Okay, we'll give you Mykel Williams. I'll say this. For me, I'm thinking outside the box on this one. I like Ezeraku. I think Ezeraku's the best.
Yeah.
He's another guy. He's going to get engulfed in the run and kicked out of the club and so on and so forth.
Not a big fan of those guys.
But what we're talking, but he's an edge rusher.
Talking situational. Like, no, I want a defensive end. I'm sick of this edge shit. How about a guy who can set a goddamn edge? Yeah, they talk about edge, and it's just some guy running as fast as he can off the edge. And then if someone touches him, it all goes to hell. It's like, well, I can teach a running back to do that. You know,
Ezeraku plays with power in his hands. He's got really long arms. I like the power that he showed.
He's a good player. I mean, I like him more than
wide 9. I think he's really a good fit too. But I would say Niners or Carter. You're going Williams. I'm going Ezeraku. Who's your sleeper?
Fadil Diggs is a guy I've mentioned on the show before. I really like him. Landon Jackson, though I don't think he really qualifies as a sleeper anymore. Let me go deep onto my list here. You know what? No, just give me Diggs out of Syracuse. He's light, but he's got a really nice bag, and he plays with the requisite temperament that you need. I think that you can get so much of what the Niners got, and that's not a high bar to be fair, from Leonard Floyd, from a Fadil Diggs. A lot of similarities in those games to where you're like, this guy's really skinny. Like, how's he doing it? Well, he's a football player. He wants it. He's going for it. Fadil Diggs as a very late pick would be a viable option to help your football team.
A&M transfer. Okay, I'm going with a guy who's kind of odd shaped, but man, I love this player. And the more I watched him, the more I thought, Jesus, this guy might be able to actually do this in the NFL. Aiden Huntington from Tulane is a 6'1", 270-pound defensive end, and he's just very productive. Yes. He's very fast and very quick. He looks like a defensive tackle playing defensive end.
He had the single number too, right?
Yeah, I don't remember his number, but they list him at number 352 on this list. But like when they're showing him on the thing, they've got the arrow going up. It says up. He's gone up 200 spots. So obviously he's on the rise in somebody's mind. But Aiden Huntington, really impressive.
Yes, number 45. I watched,
45, I know that's it. He weighs 40.
I know who you're talking about.
That's it.
Good player.
He's thick, but at first glance, you'd be like, nah. But then you watch him, and you're like, wait a second, this guy can flatten and get to the quarterback. I like him. He's consistently productive. All right, defensive tackle. It's Mason Graham for the Niners.
It's Graham. The answer is Graham across.
And now be Graham for you?
Yeah. I don't love it, but yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to go against Graham. I mean, one thing about Graham is I just don't love I don't love the just how limited he looks as an athlete. I mean,
Yes.
he's got a
It's
big
an issue. It's
he's
a
got a
real issue.
belly. He doesn't look like an athlete, and that
Right.
bothers me. I don't want guys who don't look like athletes. So that one bothers me.
I
I
I think
think
you
I'm going to
have to
go.
take him at 11, but man, I think he gets to 11. Let me put it that way. I think the Niners are going to have
I'm going to
to.
say Walter Nolan. I like Walter Nolan. I
I
think
like
he's the
Walter Nolan
best.
too. He's my guy.
I think he's the best. And then who's your sleeper D tackle?
Riley Mills out of Notre Dame.
Good
You know,
player.
this is a classic example of watch the tape. Tell me what the other team was doing. They were petrified of Riley Mills. Couldn't stop doubling him. Every time you didn't double him, he was in the backfield. He's like the shittiest version of JJ Watt, Riley Mills. Every time you watch him, you're like, oh, that's the best player on the field. And yet, and it was a big issue when Notre Dame didn't have him for the playoff run. And yet now here we are, and they're like, I don't know if Riley Mills is any good. What the fuck are you talking about? He was outstanding for them. If you can get Riley Mills on day 3, you're just going to get someone who's going to help your football team at a premium position for the 49ers. I'm not saying he's going to start for you, but he could. You know, like that's all you're looking for. You're looking for someone who's going to make your roster and bring up the baseline level of your team. Riley Mills is going to bring up the baseline level of your team. I think that he's getting slept on in a big way.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. I'm going to go with a guy that I don't know if you're familiar with, but man,
You seem to be throwing some names out that I got 1,000 names in front of me. It seems like I'm having a hard time even sorting through all my shit. And even you're like, who the? I got the Tulane defensive and the stubby one. I'm like,
yeah. Well, here's a guy that I really like, and I've been on him for 2 years now, and and I just went through my notes the other day, and I'm like, forgot how much I love this player, and then I went back and looked at him this year, and he had a great year.
Yeah.
He's a 6'2", 280-pound defensive tackle, and he's like one of these guys that doesn't really have a position. He's kind of reminds me a lot of Ronald Blair. Remember Ronald Blair?
Oh, I know Ronald Blair.
Yeah, and he reminds me of Ronald Blair. He's just one of these guys that's good, and he just
Play
wins.
him around. Yeah, yeah.
Davin Van. Have you heard of Davin Van from NC State? He's got a wrestling background.
Yes.
And he's productive everywhere you put him. He's just productive.
Davin
is. Van.
He was. I'm looking at my notes here. So Jake actually watched him. I haven't watched this one. I don't have a cross check on him. So
he just wins. It's like that's all I would say. Like
drives in wildly. Played 3-4 defensive end. 6 forced fumbles last year.
6 forced fumbles. This guy produces. I mean, he gets to the quarterback.
Jake seems to love this guy, but he doesn't have a bag apparently.
That's meaning he has no moves.
Yeah,
is that what you're saying? Yeah, well, I mean, he doesn't have lots of moves, but the effort.
Jake has him as draftable.
Oh, there's no doubt he's draftable. Well, all right, inside or linebacker. We'll just go linebacker. We won't differentiate inside.
Yeah, you and I both know. You and I both know who it is.
You going Jihad Campbell? You going Jalen Walker?
I like Jalen Walker. I think that he's a linebacker. I think you play him at will. I think he can play Mike. I think you can put him at defensive end if you have to. Hell, I'd play him as a star safety. I just want him on the field somewhere. I figure it out.
He's Willis. He's Patrick Willis. I've seen enough of Patrick Willis. This guy's Patrick Willis. Willis. He didn't play inside backer at Ole Miss the way that Patrick Willis plays inside backer. He played defensive end. He rotated around. But he's the same guy as far as leader, undeniable character, toughness, work ethic, intellect. He's the guy that they all look to. He's the alpha. He's the guy. I like Jalen Walker too, and I think the Niners do too.
If the Niners don't, they need to fire some people because this is everything they've ever wanted. And the only thing that the 49ers could say, oh, we're not so sure, is the fact that he's a little bit positionless. Oh, we'd have to adapt in some way to him. We couldn't possibly do that. Well, and that's why you'll only win 6 games again. Because ultimately it's about getting good players on the field in positions to make good plays. This guy is a great player. You're talking, we're talking much earlier in the show about high character guys. This guy's as high of a character guy as you can get. Figure out a way to help him make plays for your football team because you'll be better for it. And the fact that he'll be available to them at 11 in all likelihood is downright criminal from the 10 teams that draft before, because this guy's a truly special player. I want every bit of stock off of this Georgia defense I can get. I know that is a little gauche because the Eagles already did it, but they just won the Super Bowl. So I'm just going to do what they did because they're right. Just get as many Georgia players as possible.
All I'll say is, the Niners have Robert Beal.
Yeah, well, that was them overthinking.
And they have a guy this year that's kind of like that. They have another guy like that.
They got a lot of guys. They got nothing but guys.
Tyrion Ingram Dawkins.
Yeah, I have him.
There you go. There's your Robert Beal. 6'4", 280, athletic as hell, great tester. Never played.
Yeah. And never transferred.
Who's your sleeper?
Another red flag.
Who's your sleeper linebacker?
I think I mentioned this guy to you last time. Brandon George out of Pittsburgh. Brandon George.
Yeah, I've got to study.
He's awesome.
Him. I haven't checked him out.
He is awesome. I'm really looking forward to
inside, outside?
Inside. Here's what they did with him. He was effectively a defensive tackle because they blitzed the A gap on every single snap. He was done a dramatic disservice by Narduzzi at Pittsburgh because, again, they just blitzed him every snap, and he got a lot done doing that. Don't get me wrong. But they never asked him.
6'2", 243.
Special athletic traits. I think that let me put it to you this way. He's the George Kittle of linebackers in that he has all the ability to do what you need to do at the NFL level. He was just never asked to do it because he had an idiosyncratic, very almost theocratic coach at Pittsburgh, in the case of Kittle at Iowa, where it's like, we don't do that shit here. Well, that shit is very important at the NFL level. You can do things however you see fit. That's your job, your program. You can do it as ever you see fit. But Brandon George was done a disservice at Pittsburgh, and I think that whomever decides to just take the flyer, because that's all it costs you, is going to find out, is this guy like the third best linebacker in this class? Like, is this guy? Well, we're talking Danny Stutzman, Barrett Carter, Cody Simon. Give me Brandon George on a whim, because Brandon George has a chance to be an all-pro in this league with these athletic traits that he has. And by the way, again, when you're just playing him as a defensive tackle, all he did was win as a defensive tackle. And you're telling me he actually gets to play linebacker now?
It's a good one. It's a good name. I've never heard of him. I'm going to go with Chandler Martin.
Yep.
Chandler Martin is one of my favorites, not because I had him on the show. I liked this guy months before I ever met him.
How do you think we found out?
6 foot, 230-pound linebacker. He's a true alpha. He's a great kid from a great family who's incredibly productive. Height is the most overrated aspect of being a good inside linebacker. You got to have ability to close, and you got to want it. This guy is an absolute fantastic second level defender, stack backer, can cover, can run, can hit, leader. Love him. Tone setter. Love Chandler Martin. This is a great undersized linebacker draft. I'll shout out a few of these other guys
for sure. Yeah.
Some of these other guys are amazing too. Jalen Walker from Indiana, undersized, damn good. Casey Osai from Louisiana, damn good. The other South Carolina linebackers, Debo Williams, Bam Martin Scott, both those guys are really good. Carson Bruner's good. Aaron Smith from South Carolina State is good. There's Shamar James from Florida, really good. Teddy Buchanan.
Good. Kane Medrano out of UCLA might be the better linebacker from UCLA.
He's super fast. I don't like his take on ability, but I love his speed.
I'm not a big Carson Schweigesinger guy.
Schlesinger. Yeah, I'm not either. I think there's some stiffness there. All right, so let's go to safety. Who's the safety one? Who's your safety one? Is it Starks or Eman Wari? Or is it Xavier Watts, who had incredible ball skills and ball production at Notre Dame? Or is it Makuba? A lot of people like Makuba. A lot of people like Kevin Winston.
I'd take
Craig Woodson was at the local pro day yesterday.
I would take Makuba. I think they'll have Starks. This is a terrible safety class. This is a brutal one. I'm dying out here with this safety class. I'll give you the sleeper though, because I do like this guy, Dan Jackson.
So you're going Makuba.
Personally, Makuba.
They're going Starks.
Starks.
I love Starks too, man. Starks is really amazing, but
doesn't have
the
twitch.
I'm going to go with Billy Bowman Jr. I like Billy Bowman.
Oklahoma guy.
He's short, but he's damn good. He's a short, really good safety. He's just very productive. He's hyperactive. He's all over the place. I like that guy. The more I watched Oklahoma, the more
he's a good cover guy.
Yeah, he's a good cover.
I don't
guy.
think he sees well.
I'd probably go with Eman Wari just because Eman Wari's so freaking
he's so frustrated.
But he made a lot of big plays. He really did. I mean,
and then he's floating for the rest of them. They made a lot of big plays against him. I mean, his all 22 is.
I think he's going to be good.
I'm having PTSD just thinking about it.
You don't like him. I don't see Taylor Mays. I see, who's also this big and this,
I see Obi Melifonwu with him. That's what I see.
Who was big but not nearly as fast as this.
What are you talking about? Obi Melifonwu had a 10 RAS score. Nika Manwari, 10 RAS score. These guys are considered.
This guy's one of the greatest workout guys of all time. Guy ran 4.3?
Obi Melifonwu. Look up the workout numbers.
For the Raiders?
Oh yeah, 19th pick.
What was his 40? I thought it was 4.4. This guy ran 4.3 something, and he's bigger. I hear you, but I think Eman Wari's better than Melifonwu. I'll say this. I kind of like the Cal guy, Craig Woodson. The more I watch him, he's smooth, man. He is smooth. He's a good player, but he's not great. But I like Billy Bowman. As far as sleeper safety, I agree with you that Starks to the Niners would be there.
Dan Jackson, Georgia.
Is your sleeper?
It's hard to find bad tape on him. Bad tape on him.
Yeah,
he's really, really good.
That's a good one.
I mean, it might be totally wrong, right? Like that, there is a typecasting element to this. It might be totally off. He might not be able to do any of this at the NFL level.
Well, there's always that question at safety, Dieter. You know that. I mean, there's always, safeties are hard to evaluate. Your instincts matter a ton. If you don't have good instincts and you have great speed, you're just further away from the play. So
I totally get it. But this guy dominated when he was on the field. He might have been the most important player on the Georgia defense. He was unquestionably the safety they trusted more. When you watch that scheme, he
made tons of plays.
They trusted more. He was the man on that defense. I'm taking a shot on him. It doesn't cost me anything.
I kind of like Deion's other kid.
Oh, wow. No, Larry, there's no way you just said that out loud. He might be the worst player in college football.
I kind of like him as a late round guy. No, he's not going to get drafted. He's an undrafted guy. But I guess my choice that wouldn't be him. I'm going with Kenny Gallup Jr., who I really, really like the ball skills of Kenny Gallup Jr. He's went to the HBCU school, Howard. Mm-hmm. He's 5'11", 216, but he's also one of these guys that he could get to camp and he could just not be enough of an athlete.
It's the joy of a sleeper, right?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing here. But I like Kenny Gallup and I like Robert McDaniel from Jackson State, who's a big time hitter. I like those guys quite a bit. I think it's a really bad safety class.
So
I really
bad.
don't like.
I'm dying on it.
It's
to the point. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous that you have a safety class this bad and Xavier Watts isn't getting that much respect. Who's a really good safety.
One thing about Xavier Watts is got great ball skills, but other than great ball skills, I don't like anything else that he does. He's got great ball skills. I mean, how about corner? Who's your corner one? Who's the Niners corner one?
Corner one is
Hunter. It has to be
sheet. It's Hunter. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Good. Yeah. Hunter. If we're operating in a world where Travis Hunter qualifies as something else, wouldn't shock me in the least bit I'll give you my one. My one outside of Hunter is Barron. I love Barron.
Oh, there's nothing not to like.
Can't get enough of him. And I think that I don't give a damn if he's an inside. I think he plays outside really, really well. I just do not understand this thing where, he's got to play inside. No, they played him inside because he kept making plays. They played him inside because they wanted him near the ball. They wanted to play him as a linebacker because he was that good. They could have just played him on the outside and taken that away, and they did at times at Texas. Barron's a really special player. I love Maxwell Harrison. I really like Will Howard, or at least I see it. I think Revel is outstanding. Trey Amos, as I call him, pick 43, because every time I talk to my man Hutch, he's like, Trey Amos, pick 43. It's like, yeah, we get it. Like, if he's there, you take him. Trey Amos is lovely. Kobe Bryant out of Kansas. Hate to say nice things about Kansas. Jacob Parrish is fantastic. I like a lot of the cornerbacks in this class. Sleeper. Does Mac McWilliams still qualify as a sleeper out of UCF?
Yeah. Oh, he's considered a late round guy. I like him a lot. That would probably be one of my guys.
I like him a lot too. He was really outstanding.
He's listed at 221. Here's the question I would have. If you're listed at 203, are you a sleeper? Quincy Riley is listed at 203, and the Niners worked him out and met him at the combine, and he's the second nickel corner in this behind Parrish, and yet Parrish is listed at 87 and Riley is listed at 203.
I do not understand why people
221.
Jacob Parrish is one of my guys, right? I'd put the stamp on him. I don't know why people think he needs to play on the inside either. It's a lot like Barron. Like, Jacob Parrish is a perfect cover 3 corner. Now, Barron can do everything in any scheme. Parrish, when I look at him, I just go like, just take the sideline, my man. He'll be all over it. I think he's a great cover 3 corner. I can appreciate that he wants to come up. The issue that I have, Larry, is it seems to me as if there are so few corners that are willing to tackle that if you have an outside corner that's willing to do some work in the run game these days, now the draft nicks just go, oh, well, he must be a slot. No, that's called being a football player. And you actually, at the NFL level, if you want to be successful, need to tackle if you're an outside corner in the run game. And if you're not, I don't care if you're Sauce Gardner, they're going to bench your ass in week 1, which is exactly what happened to Sauce Gardner in week 1 of this past season. And I know the 49ers value it immensely. So Parrish, cover 3. Do not slide that guy inside. He's really good.
I'm going to go James Burgess, Alabama State. Just a tall corner from another HBCU school, but I saw him in the HBCU All-Star game. This guy's got the movement ability for sure. I don't know about the actual straight line speed, but 6'3", long arms.
Yeah.
He looks good on the hoof. I'd have to see more, but to me, I'll go with Burgess.
Nice.
All right, let's hit good exercise. It only took us the whole stream. Let's hit some supers here. We got this one from Joe Boyd. He says, if they take Shamar Stewart, I'm done with this team. Fire Kyle and John.
I would hate that pick.
Do you have strong feelings about Shamar Stewart?
I do. I can't justify taking him anywhere inside the top 25. He has one move. It's a bull rush. It's a good move. It's a very good move. To think that would be successful consistently at the NFL level is insulting to every tackle and guard in the league. That they wouldn't. There are some guys who will not be able to anchor against it. That is for sure. And he will set an edge for you, which I can appreciate because so few guys are apparently being asked to do that. But to take a defensive end in the top 15, top 10, who has one move, and it ain't exactly Reggie White's hump, is malpractice. Total malpractice. Shamar Stewart would be an awful pick at 11 for the 49ers.
I love him. I mean, you're talking about a guy this guy plays so hard. This guy plays, the A&M's, they've got all kinds of wasted this and that. It's just kind of I'm not a big Elko fan. I'm not a big fan of the way they bring guys along, but I've seen guys come there and I've seen guys go other places. And it seems like when guys go other places, they seem to they play better.
Yeah, you should just take a flyer on a top 11 pick.
He was good at A&M, but he's way better at Ole Miss. He was way better at Ole Miss. And this kid is a 1-year starter. He lined up primarily in Elko's 4-man front as the edge. Mm-hmm. They did move him around a little bit, but this is a traits over production thing because the production's not there. This is a, and the thing about it is, I get it. I get it. Okay. Generally, it's safer to side with production than it is to side with traits. But this isn't high school football. This is pro football. And I've seen all kinds of awesome, productive, good players who get to this level and they just don't have the traits. They don't have the traits. And then
Larry,
I've seen guys who have traits that didn't do it in college. And guess what? Sometimes they don't do it in the pros, but sometimes they do. And this guy's going to be a guy who does it in the pros. And if you pass on this guy, you're going to pass it on this guy at your own. It's going to be your own funeral. Because here's the thing about this guy: you would have passed on Danielle Hunter. Danielle Hunter had 2 sacks his final year at LSU. He did nothing. He's one of the best sack guys in pro football today. He's made $100 million. The guy has made a lot of money. He's sacked a lot of quarterbacks. He's damn good. He didn't do it at LSU. So if you just went on he didn't produce, you wouldn't have drafted Danielle Hunter. So you would have missed out on Danielle Hunter. So the same people that are saying that are the same people saying this guy can't do it. It would be one thing if the guy didn't produce, but that's not the case. He did produce. He just didn't have a lot of sack production. But as a guy who watched every A&M game, sadly, they had Shamar Turner. They had Nick Scorton. They also, on paper, had the rep of they got the best defensive line in the SEC. And if you watch their games, 3 steps, ball came out. Ball's coming out. Quarterbacks didn't hold it long against A&M. This guy led A&M in pressures. And I'll say this, if he has no moves, he doesn't know how to use his hands, he needs coaching. But I put this one on Chris. If Chris thinks he can coach this guy up, I'm taking him without a doubt at 11, and I'm not going to worry about it either. Why? Because this guy has a motor and traits. It's not just traits. It's traits and the best motor. This guy had the best motor on the team. There were games where they were done. This guy's still flying at the football. So the ethics there, the desire to get better is there. The coaching has not been there. The production has not been there. But this guy is so talented that there's almost no way that he doesn't make it. I really think he's going to make it. I think he's going to make it big. I think Shamar Stewart is going to be a tremendous NFL player. And I know there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be like, hey, man, we missed on this guy because he didn't produce at A&M. And I get it. I totally get it because he didn't produce. He didn't produce sacks, but he led the team in pressures, and it was a damn good team.
I find it hilarious that we can be like, oh, well, he led the team in pressure. He was producing. There wasn't any numbers. And then when Michael Williams comes up, you're like, but what did he do? What did he do? Like,
he's disruptive. He's a disruptive player who disrupts defensive or offensive game plans. He explodes out of his stance.
Oh yeah, he's very good at the one thing.
This guy will knock you back. Right,
yeah,
he's got the big time knockback. He's got upfield bursts. I mean, heck, if all he did was do what Leonard Floyd did this year, was just push up field and then just read the quarterback where the quarterback went, he's probably wind up with 10, 12 sacks. Just off that, because he's so big, so explosive. But I understand it's easy to look at this guy and go, never had more than 1.5 sacks in a season. No production. That's it. I mean, he
tries real hard, Larry. And isn't
it's a combination of the talent and the motor. This guy has been a game wrecker. He really has been. Believe me, I don't care about this guy, but I watched him. I think could be picked. He literally could be picked first in the draft. That's how talented he is. He could be the first pick in the draft.
He would have a half a sack more than his draft pick. That's
but Joe Boyd's like, if they take him, I'm done with him. You know what? I hope they do take him. I hope they take him. I hope they take him because he's going to make all you guys look bad. Because this guy, the one thing is most of the guys that don't do anything and don't really care. This guy cares a lot.
Oh, he cares. I love selling cult of personality. How about if you're picking at 11, you get a guy with both production and traits because it's the 11th fucking pick.
Daniil Hunter is awesome.
Daniil Hunter was awesome. He was taken pick 88.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. That doesn't matter.
It does matter. It does absolutely
all that
matter.
Is what he is. It doesn't matter what he is. It doesn't matter where he's picked. Where he's picked is all that. Nobody cares about where he's picked. He's not even on that team anymore.
It infinitely matters if you're picking 11th in the draft and you're comparing him to someone who was taken 88th and you're saying that the logic for why you would do it is the same. It's totally different. At 88, you can take a risk. By the way, not that much of a risk. He's still a top 100 player. So someone saw what you saw in Daniil Hunter. If you're taking at 11, you have the pick of every player but 10.
He's risky. There's some bust potential.
A team that needs 7 defensive starters, and you're going to take the riskiest one who's coming off a 1.5 sack season.
All I'm saying is I'd go to Sala and I'd go to Chris and I'd say, hey, do you want this guy? Do you believe in this guy? If they said yes,
hey, do you guys want to put your entire careers and reputations on the line? I'd appreciate it if they said yes. I mean, if that's their guy, go to town.
I'm just saying. You can't just point to every guy that didn't produce. I mean, Jake does this all the time. We had this conversation last week. It's like every guy that doesn't produce, there are guys that didn't produce that much. You would have missed on Terrell fucking Davis. He didn't produce. He did not produce at Georgia.
Again, Terrell Davis was taken in the sixth.
He's in the Hall of Fame, dude.
6th round. This is a very big difference. There is
doesn't matter. Risk. It doesn't matter.
What are you talking about?
It doesn't matter what round.
If you took Trey Lance in the 6th round, would we be having the same conversation about Trey Lance today and about Kyle and John today?
In hindsight, Terrell Davis is a Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of Fame running back. They missed on him. You can't say that you hit on a guy. If you hit on a guy in the 6th round, that means other people missed on that guy. Correct. The NFL missed on Terrell Davis.
Correct. No one's arguing that that's a miss.
And the
issue
NFL
is the risk versus the reward.
But you're
maximizing the reward. That's fine. I'm saying it's a massive risk.
Because he didn't sack the quarterback on a defensive line that had other guys that did. And he still led this great line, Dieter, in pressures.
And I said
Scorton's probably going in the 2nd round. Mm-hmm. Shamar Turner's going in the 2nd round. These guys are going in the 2nd round. Yeah. They've had other guys. It's not. I'm just saying, if this guy were a dog with fleas, I'd say steer clear. He's not.
I'm not arguing he's a dog with fleas. I'm arguing that he's not worthy of a top 25 pick.
He just hasn't had the sack production. You're going too much on sack production. It's not. Everything's not.
Michael Williams as number 1 defensive end is laughable, right?
Well, he has none at all. I mean, you're talking about 14 sacks in 3 seasons at Georgia. And he played. The other thing, Dieter, is that guy didn't work out good. This guy worked out great. Mikel Williams was supposed to be a guy that, you know what? He's a little raw, but man, he's going to work out great. And then he ran 4.71. That's not great. The other guy worked out way better and is bigger.
The other guy had 4.5 sacks in his entire career. He averaged 1.5 every year for 3 years.
Did Nick Bosa? I mean, all I got to say is this: be consistent. Because if you're going to sit there and argue that Nick Bosa had a good season this year, then you can't sit there and tell me sack production means everything.
No. I'm not arguing against the concept of pressure. You're right. I'm not saying that sacks are everything.
People celebrated Nick Bosa, Dieter, as he had a great year. Niner coaches celebrated Nick Bosa as he had a great year, but he didn't sack the quarterback 18.5 times. He sacked the quarterback half that many times.
I'm not the inconsistency here isn't to say that pressures don't matter. Pressures, of course, matter. And game film matters. I was making the exact same argument that you're making for Shamar Stewart for Mikel Williams. Okay? The issue is Mikel Williams, who didn't have the workout but has been playing on an injured ankle for the last calendar year. He has.
Stop.
What are you talking about?
Stop, dude. Stop. You don't get to. Sorry, dude. You don't get to have an ankle sprain for 7 months. This guy hasn't played well, period.
Well, he had more than 4.5 sacks.
How long you going to blame the whole season on an ankle? Really?
Yes. Last 7 games, yeah. Last 7 games, absolutely.
7 games? An ankle? 7 games?
He played.
Come on.
He played.
Dude. Come on.
He played through it. Okay. I'll take Michael Williams over Shamar Stewart every day and twice on Sunday, which, by the way, he'll be playing twice as much on Sundays.
All right. Let's make a wager on that. Who's better between Mikel Williams and Shamar Stewart? I will take Shamar Stewart. You can have Mikel Williams. HHG Trucker, you think the Niners are still going to try to trade BA after he gets healthy? They are looking at wide receivers. Good tight end would be a nice target for Brock Purdy. I don't know on this one.
What do you paid the cash? Might as well keep them.
They're not going to. I don't think they're going to move them, but I don't think. I think they're looking for receivers because they have no receivers.
Correct. I mean, yeah.
If they don't,
they have 2 receivers.
They got to play a game. I mean, who's going to be a receiver for the 49ers this year?
I mean, Pearsall, Cowing, they don't trust. I can't say anything about Cowing.
So I mean, it's Pearsall and Jennings, but I mean, come
Jennings,
on.
That's it.
That's why they're looking at receivers.
They need bodies, and they need them early.
Here's the other question though. If the Niners really did want to move, I mean, Ayuk's not going anywhere. Clearly, now he's working out at the facility and this and that, and
so it's just like when he was trying to get out.
I don't think he wants to get out now. I don't know.
It seems like they. How would you want to leave that?
It's a weird situation. But
dude.
I will say this: I don't think the guy's going to play until November. And there's all this talk. People, he's gonna be there week 1.
I mean, he'll be there. I don't think he'll be in a uniform.
If this guy plays week 1, I would be shocked. I would be totally and utterly shocked. If he played in month 1, I would be utterly shocked. I think this is going to be one of those things where in the offseason, he's going to play. He might show up week 1, and we're going to get to camp, and we're going to get to preseason, and we're going to get to week 1 and week 2. Week 3.
Saw him running on a side field, Larry.
He's we're tired of talking about it. No, this guy. I bet my guess is Halloween. I'd tipped Halloween as the over/under, and I would say over means he's after Halloween, and I'll say it's over. I'll say
it's over. I mean, I think he's closer to Thanksgiving than he is Halloween,
which is I mean,
by then,
that right there is frustrating as hell.
Yeah.
And he's probably going to be diminished on the back end. That's the other one too. It's like somebody, he's going to be good as new. It's like, dude, you're nuts if you think he's good.
Not with
new.
That
was a major
slow cooked knee.
Yeah, I mean, was Marcus Lattimore good as new? No, he wasn't good as new. Andre Hanna, Larry, truthfully, how confident are you in the Niners draft plan this year to hit a home run draft class and at minimum win the NFC West and potentially the Super Bowl? Not.
Yeah, why would you be confident?
Not.
Blind faith. You know what? Legitimately, try out blind faith. Couldn't be me, but that's got to be really reassuring to do blind faith.
I'm rooting for it, but I can't predict it. And as far as win the NFC West, I don't know how good the NFC West is going to be. The Niners are going to have a last place schedule. That will help them. I don't believe
put a lot of stock in that. I don't know.
I think that the people that don't believe in the draft or don't put a lot of credence in the draft, maybe don't know much about the draft, are also in that camp of there's no way the Niners could be a good team this year because they don't think that you could get enough out of any individual draft.
Well,
and they're generally right.
That's fair.
As far as they're probably the Niners, if you were saying, what do the Niners really need? I would say they need about 10 players out of this draft, minimum
11.
And
picks.
I would say they're probably more likely to get like 4 or 5.
Of course. And that's a home run draft. A home run draft is getting 50% of your picks right. That is a home run. Last year was as good of a draft as you can imagine for the 49ers because they got their top 100 picks right. They nailed it. First 4 rounds, bang, bang, bang. You can justify all of those picks. And we don't need to get into the weeds about it again, but like they're players. They're on the roster still. I mean, 5th, 6th, 7th round guys, you can cut in training camp. It's not a big deal. I mean, it's a big deal to like losers like us, but like in general, like the NFL does not give a shit if you cut a 5th, 6th, or especially a 7th round pick in training camp. I will say this:
be fortunate. They're gonna have to get. They're gonna have to hit after the draft. You know, I mean, they're gonna have to get some undrafted guys. I mean, Evan Anderson right now is the 49ers' best defensive tackle, and he was undrafted last year. So
that's an issue for me, but he is unquestionably that.
Unless you're a big Jordan Elliott fan.
I'm not a big Jordan Elliott fan, though. He did go to Missouri. You're right in saying that people who don't put a lot of stock in the draft are immediately writing off the Niners. I, as somebody who has put too much stock into this draft, or at least put too much time, feel the same way because I do not like this draft. And the Niners are playing objectively, openly. They're stating this. They're playing a quantity over quality game, right? They want a lot of picks. We got big plans. We got a lot of picks in the draft. And we feel like we can hit on a bunch of guys because we bought a bunch of lottery tickets. And so we're gonna go play the lottery and maybe we'll hit big. I wouldn't want lottery tickets in this draft. It's not a good draft. That's not to say that they can't get the players that they need out of it. It's just to say that it's a lot less likely they fall into them. So you're exactly right. They're going to need some very good fortune. They're going to need more good fortune than they usually would.
I don't agree with you at all on this. I don't think to say it's not a good draft. This is the deepest defensive tackle draft I've ever seen.
Oh, it's great.
This is one of the deepest running back drafts I've ever seen. This is a very deep tight end draft. And this is the best group of day 3 linebackers I think I've ever could remember. There's going to be at least a dozen good linebackers out of day 3 of this draft. So I don't think it's a bad draft. I mean, Chandler Martin's a player. I mean, I absolutely know it. Eugene Asante is a player. And there's about 10 other guys that I could name that are right there with him. And the tight ends, there's all kinds of good tight ends. I mean, there's all kinds of good tight ends.
This is my least favorite tight end class in 10 years, Larry.
I love this group. There's going to be all kinds of good tight ends out of this draft.
Have fun with your Gunnar Helms.
I'm not a big Gunnar Helm fan, but
what's the Thomas Fidones of the world?
Well, I mean, just on numbers alone. I mean, the numbers alone, you've got a lot of usually. I mean, you've got a Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland, Mason Taylor. If you don't like Helm, whatever. Ferguson, Arroyo's a good receiver. Fannon's a prolific player. Briningstool's a really good athlete. Mitchell Evans is a very good tight end. Gadsden is a super intriguing player. Urasek, I think, is going to have an NFL career. Prescorn's going to have an NFL career. Conyers I'm a huge fan of Conyers. You said you like Bartholomew.
I do.
I like Hawes, who's a day 3 guy. I think Runyon's a pretty good player. I think Fairweather's going to make it in the NFL. I would say there's going to be at least a dozen tight ends out of this draft that make it in the NFL.
4.
Whatever. I don't want to fight with you over stupid shit. Let's. I mean, it just. I mean,
no, it's fair. It's fair. It does not.
I mean, it's just like there's no way. I mean, it's beauty. My girlfriend's ugly. No, she's beautiful. And it's like whatever.
Oh, yeah.
There's no way to prove it. It's just why bother. Claudaddy says
it is to the point of. You can love this draft. The 49ers better love this draft. They better feel like they've got it made in the shade with all these picks. I'm looking at it. Obviously, I am of a pessimistic.
Well, just on defensive tackle alone, Dieter, it's an incredible draft because people pay through the nose for defensive tackles. People pay so much money for defensive tackles, and there's going to be good defensive tackles drafted in every single round of this draft.
And yet they're still going to end up with Dion. They're going to end up with Deion Walker somehow.
Or
Ty Robinson, who I can't
stand. Claudaddy Arcades, great show. Niners draft needs to start in the 20s after trading back 2 times. Parlay pick 11 into 4 extra picks, and we could have an intriguing day 3.
It's not how it works in the real world.
Well, here's the question. Yeah, I mean, there's so many people who have done mocks, and I've done a bunch of them, and
I love doing it. It's fun.
There's a bunch of trades, but what's the perfect number of picks for the Niners? Because bottom line is you're not going to this is another one of these ridiculous things that I hear a lot. Oh God, sometimes it's nauseating, but I'll hear this one. they don't need 15 picks. 15 rookies can't make this team. Well, if you pick the right 15 rookies, the right 15 rookies could make any NFL team,
Correct.
including the world champion Eagles. So
Correct.
it's all about who you pick and picking the right players. And it's just a lottery ticket. It's just a matter of, do you have the right numbers? You know, there's going to be There's going to be a hit at pick 6, pick 9, pick 49, pick 68. And if you have all those picks, then you've done really well. So it's just a matter of how many can you hit on. But like, you have 11 picks. You know, you might want to trade down for a few more, or you might want to trade up and have a few less. And there's different ways to play your hand. What's in this draft that you deemed bad? What's a good number of picks? Well, what's a good number of picks that you would say, you know what? That's what we want. We want that number of picks. Because I look at it this way. You trade down, you get more picks. If you want to flip a pick to the Raiders for Michael Mayer, you can do it. If you want to throw a pick to the Eagles for Bryce Huff, you can do it. If you want to go find 4 veterans out there that you want to hand pick and bring them in for a 6th-round pick, the way the Niners brought in Anquan Bolden once upon a time, I mean, you could do that. It's just capital. You don't have to use them, and you could trade them for future picks, or you could trade them for veteran players. And generally, if you're in the business of trading picks for players and you're willing to do it on draft day, you generally get an unbelievable steal on the players. Whoever gets the player and not the pick on draft day usually gets a screaming deal. So I'd be okay if the Niners had 16 or 17 picks and hawked 2 or 3 of them for veterans and had a 13 or 14 man draft class. And I don't even necessarily know that they need to, because they probably are going to be the kings of the undrafted market. I would imagine. Maybe I'm wrong, but
better be.
They have a lot of opportunity. Generally, if you have some money and opportunity, you can get whoever you want in the undrafted market. Maybe they'll be a big player in that. They probably should be, at least for a few guys. What's the perfect number of picks?
They need 7 players minimum out of this draft, guys that they can do something with on the roster this year, from varying levels of week 1 starter to, hey, just a depth guy. They need to get 7 players on a rookie scale contract out of this class. So let's call it 14 or 15, because even though I do think this draft sucks, giving the Niners the benefit of the doubt, the best teams are drafting at a 50% clip, and they're getting most of that work done earlier rather than later. That gives you 3 shots in 1. You know, we're just mathing it here, which is probably a dangerous game. Given
how'd you come up with 7? Well, why 7?
Well, you need 7 defensive starters. You need a starting defensive end. You need 2 starting defensive tackles. You need a starting will linebacker, or at least somebody who can give D. Winters an actual run. You need another safety, and you need another corner. So there's your number.
But then that's only defense.
That's just defense, right?
Yeah.
Then you also need at least one wide receiver that you can put out on the field as a starter caliber player, be that effective or not. Like, you need somebody who can be an X receiver for you for the season. You need a left guard, or at least competition at left guard. They'll have 2 guys there. They're going to need another person to at least make it interesting. And then, running back depth. I mean, it's not as if there's a spot in which it's, hey, we're all good, we don't need to add anything. But 7 players. You need 7 players. And a lot of that is on defense. So 15 is there. I will say this about everything you said about making a trade on draft day for a player is accurate. Just one problem with that from the 49ers perspective. Active NFL players cost money, and that doesn't seem to be something that they're wanting to spend this offseason, because cash is tight, because Brock Purdy and the escrow is about to get all of their cash, and they have a very strict budget of about $300 million that they will not go over, even when the quarterback's going to need about 150 in a bank account day one when that contract gets signed. So that's why they're not spending any money. That's why they're trying to move off of everybody else. It's not because they don't have it. It's because there's a budget of $300 million, and Jed has refused to go over it, even with this very specific special circumstance of, hey, we need to give a 9-figure check to a quarterback, 80% of which needs to be an escrow the second that contract is signed.
Couple more supers, and we'll finish with one final one here. Claudaddy Arcade says Egbuka seems like the Justin Jefferson of this draft. People were enamored with Judy, Lamb, Ruggs, and Jefferson snuck in at 22.
It's not
That's an
bad.
interesting comparison. I do think Egbuka is not nearly as talented as Justin Jefferson. I think
Jefferson
but I
had
do,
the twitch. Yeah, he was crazy.
and Egbuka is good, and he's like a solid, 7, but he's never going to be a 10. But though he is, in a lot of ways, he's similar proposition to what Ricky Pearsall was last year, which is that he's a guy that you would draft because you would be like, hey, this guy's ready to roll. He's going to come in and contribute right away. He doesn't have to have this ramp up, as opposed to like Xavier Legette, who went to Carolina and he's really raw. And it's like, man, it's going to take some time. He may never figure it out. So I do see Egbuka being like Pearsall. I could see the Niners wanting Egbuka, which is why I said that he would be their wide receiver 1.
I dig it. Yeah, he's coming in. He's going to be a number 2 wide receiver for your team forever. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Make a lot of money that way.
Exactly. Tyler says first-round prospects with limited production: Ziggy Ansah, Jadeveon Clowney, Rashawn Gary, etc. If your coaches believe in him, it's worth a shot. Yeah, I mean, Rashawn Gary is still, to this day, hasn't necessarily fulfilled all the potential. And some of these guys kind of went away. Ansah kind of disappeared, but and Clowney, I think, was pretty productive. But
yeah, I'm trying. I don't think that's.
Clowney was a very productive player.
Clowney went 8 sacks, 13 sacks. Oh, he only had 3 in 2013 year, when he was considered a Heisman frontrunner going into the season.
Well, once again, it's like when you're the best defensive player and everybody knows you and you've been circled, squared, highlighted, and whatnot, and they run away from you. I mean, in college, when you're that much of a menace, they can just neutralize you and kind of go the other way. Claudaddy Arcade says,
Williams all do.
Booker is an absolute beast. Would feel better paying Brock Purdy $55 million if we took a guy like that. Hopefully we can pick him up in the second round or the end of the first. He may fall, a lot of people a month ago were saying he was going 10 to the Bears in front of the Niners. Now I've seen him mocked a lot in the 50s. So I think the fact that Dieter, he did not work out well, he doesn't move well, he's not a fit for everybody, and he may not be a fit for the Niners. But man, I mean, Jesus,
he's got a hell of a punch.
So powerful, so dominant at the point. Yeah. Martin says, do you think Scadaboo is a good fit, and what round do they take him on their board? For me, I'd put him in the 5th round, but I think he's probably going to go in the 4th. I know there's a lot of mocks that say he's going in the 3rd, but I don't think so. I think he's a 4th round. He's a day 3 back, and he probably drafted around earlier than he should be. You got to remember this. I'm looking at a lot of these mocks. There's really good running backs in the 6th and 7th round, so guys that are absolutely comparable to this guy. So, he could go really late. My guess is it's round 4. He went to Sac State, so I mean, he's from Sacramento. But in a loaded running back draft, I wouldn't. This is not the guy I think I would draft if I were them. Do you like Scadaboo? I mean, he can do it all. I mean, he's a throwback.
I mean, I loved Cody Schrader last year. He didn't get drafted. He also had 1,700 yards on the ground, like Scadaboo. I don't see it with Scadaboo personally.
Do you like him more than Cody or less?
A little bit more because of his pass catching ability out of the backfield, but like marginally. I think he'll get drafted. I think he should be in the NFL. If the Niners got him in the 5th or the 6th round, I wouldn't bat an eye at that. I would say, hey, good pick. Nice job. But he has more hype around him, publicly at least, because he has an interesting last name and he had a great, on the one Arizona State game that everyone watched this past year, he had a great game. Like, there's buzz. Someone's going to buy into that buzz, probably the Browns, and they'll regret it because I don't see it.
Let's finish with Purdy. Warren Sharp today said that Brock Purdy was impressive in 2024. He said his 8.5 yards per pass attempt was ranked 3rd in the NFL. His EPA per dropback 5th. His success rate 4th. And he did this while the Niners were the 2nd most injured offensive team and had 57 total plays of full health where Purdy, CMC, Kittle, Debo, and Ayuk were on the field together. there wasn't all positives. He had a career high 2.6% interception rate, 26th in the NFL, highest of his career. He completed a career low 65.9%, 17th in the NFL. And according to Sharp, he says without CMC, teams defended the Niners with more man-to-man coverages. They played cover 3 zone against the Niners 49% of Purdy's dropbacks after playing cover 3. 59.9% in 22 and 60.5% are in 23.
Mm-hmm.
According to Sharp, Purdy was an excellent as a down the field passer, completing an NFL high 57.9% of his passes on throws of 10 plus yards down the field. The league average on those is 48.5%. And as I said, the Niners had the second most injured offense in the NFL. Where are you on the Purdy thing as far as there was a report this week from some NFL executive who said, you know what, make him wait. If it was me, I would make him wait. I would just make him wait. I wouldn't pay him. I wouldn't be in a rush to get it done. I wouldn't be in a rush to pay him $50 million. I wouldn't be in a rush to finalize any kind of long-term agreement. I would play it out and make him wait and wait and wait for his money. What do you think of that? Would you pay him now? Would you pay him later? What do you think the Niners ultimately are going to do? They say they want to pay him now, but then Lynch out of nowhere will be like, and it may never get done.
Yeah, well, that's because Jed York makes it more difficult to get him at a rate that they've deemed reasonable every time he opens his mouth, saying,
he's a top 10 guy.
He's a top 10 guy. And it's like, dude, are you his agent? What are you doing? And beyond that, then they're like, oh yeah, and we've saved all this money. We had to make our team objectively shittier this year so that we could pay for Brock. And it's like, I guess they're not willing to wait, or maybe they're just gonna, roll that over at a 50% tax again. So
or maybe is it strategy, Dieter? Is it possible that they look at this year, even though they don't want to publicly say it, as a transition year, and they want to throw all the money and all of the excess and all of the payments against the cap that are going to excel? They would like to move much of that into this year as possible and try to get beyond it going into next year. What do you think?
It's fine. I mean, they've never had a salary cap issue. This is the other issue. Everyone's like, oh, well, they need, they just take it this year and then you don't have a salary cap issue moving forward. They've had like $40 million in salary cap space every year forever, right? They've been rolling over salary cap money left, right, and center. They're not the Saints. They're not the Eagles. They've always had salary cap room.
They've budgeted for this, right?
Well, and they're very well budgeted for this. They've over budgeted. Frankly, they have done a really good job in terms of using void years and things like that. I'll give them credit. But ultimately, they haven't had, because they've had $1 million or $3 million quarterback, they have never been in any sort of true salary cap hell. These things have taken care of themselves. And they're certainly not in that situation now. So this idea of, oh, well, let's move all of our bad money and let's just take it on the chin this year, it has very little to do with that, because they got rid of contracts that would have expired naturally on their own. The idea that they're doing this to fix their books were fine. The reason that they're doing it is because those guys are owed $18 to $20 million in cash this year. Leonard Floyd would have had his contract expire at the end of the year. They could have gotten off no problem clean. They had to pay Leonard Floyd $2 million less to leave than they would have just to have him stay. The reason they got off of it is because Leonard Floyd was going to get $10 million in cash this year. So they took an $8 million hit against the salary cap. And if you look at that and you just say, wouldn't you rather just have the player for $2 million more? The 49ers have said repeatedly now, no, we would rather have the cash because we need it for Brock Purdy. So do I think they get it done? They better. They have made their team appreciably worse so that they could pay this guy. I would just get on with paying the guy, because the earlier you pay him, the less he's going to cost in the long run. Now, I'm so over all of this that I just don't give a shit what they do. I think it will be fun either way. If they pay him, we're going to have fun. If they don't pay him, that's even more fun, because this thing should have gotten done a long time ago. The fact that it hasn't gotten done is kind of an indictment on everybody and anybody. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous.
What's the better way to play your hand here? Would you rather pay him, take whatever pain you're going to have to take here in 2025 and be done with it? Or would you rather hedge and kick the thing down the road and hope what are you hoping?
Well,
for?
I mean, it's a good question, but it's got to be framed that's very much in a vacuum. It has to be framed like this. For John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, what's the better route? The better route is to have the quarterback, because if they kick this thing down the road, guess who gets kicked out with Brock Purdy, if that possibility is on the table? John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan don't get another quarterback. They don't get one. They get Brock Purdy. So I would want that quarterback signed, because then all of our fates are intertwined. But if they want to kick the can down the road so that they have some flexibility, yeah, they got some flexibility on GM and head coach too. Because if they're at the point where...
But you're saying they should get him signed. Are they the ones signing him?
No, not really.
So really. It's like John and Kyle should get him signed, but really it's Jed and Parag that will be doing the signing.
Well, it won't be Jed. It'll be Parag. Jed is so far out of this, he doesn't realize he's doing active harm to negotiations from the 49ers perspective. So it's John, but really it's Parag. And they can absolutely wait and see, and I don't actually have a problem with that. But it does then add into the question, are you trying to take it on the chin for a year? Because I am of the belief that you're taking it on the chin in 25 no matter what. Whether you have Brock Purdy under a long-term deal or if he's playing the last year of his rookie deal, you're taking it on the chin, because as of today, we haven't seen their draft class yet, but as of today, they don't have enough good players to compete in the NFC West. They don't. I know you can tell me that the FanDuel odds are X, Y, and Z. Go make some money, because I'm giving you the answer right now to the test. They're not good enough. Now in 26, they stand a chance. In 27, they stand a chance. But in 25, as it stands right now, and it can change, but it's hard to see it, they don't stand a chance. So the idea of just not having the quarterback locked in for that creates a volatility for the organization on the whole, which is very, very unsettling. You're telling me that if you're going to carry this into 26, like, you should have the foundation set before you start building anything. Having the quarterback is the foundation. Now, previously, they had a foundation of we have all these great players, and we lucked into this quarterback who's cheap, so we can keep all of our great players. Well, they've clearly decided they can't do that anymore, but even though they haven't signed the quarterback yet. So how about we build the foundation around the quarterback, whether that's right or wrong? Earlier you do it, the sooner you can get out. Build that foundation so you can start building up. But if you don't have that foundation built, congratulations, you're the Washington then Redskins, who did this with Kirk Cousins and who were never able to get better. Or you're Dak Prescott and the Cowboys, who they dicked around and their team got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And then when they were so bad, then the Cowboys had no choice but to sign Dak to the biggest deal that was well above market value, because, well, our team's so shitty, no one will come and see us otherwise unless we have this quarterback. You're setting yourself up, because Brock has incredible negotiating power. Brock doesn't need any of this. He doesn't. I'm sure he would love to sign a contract for 55 or 60 or 50. He'll love to sign a contract for anything at this point.
What's the most interesting number that you're looking for in this contract? Because to me,
it's always guaranteed money.
Well, no, but not to me. I think to me, the most interesting number is going to be the years. Because years is, as you said, I really kind of do think it's true. The years is going to tell us how much timeline Lynch and Shanahan get. Because
to your point, Larry,
Jed's giving them 9 years. They're going into year 9.
Yeah.
Andy Reid got 13 years. Okay. Yeah. Nobody gets forever, right? So they got 9 years.
Fire Bill fucking Belichick.
If they do we know how far into the future Kyle and John
I think they still have 5 years left on their current deals. I think they signed a 6-year extension before last season.
So what do you expect? You expect them to have 3 years left, or do you expect them to have 5 years left? I mean, it's a 5-year extension. We know they have 5 years.
I think they have 5 years from today is how the money goes.
But you know what I'm saying is the trend that if you want to move on, you move on and you eat the money and you for a year or two or what?
They have no issue. I mean, the irony is that, if they don't sign the quarterback, they got nothing but cash to spend on coaches that don't work for them anymore. And John Lynch doesn't make as much as people think. That's a rounding error. He makes less than the quarterback. So the idea.
You don't think Lynch makes $1 million a year?
Well, no, Brock makes like 5 now.
What? Thought he
Yeah,
made.
Brock.
I thought he made two.
No, it's
two.
performance incentive bonuses. He's up to like 5.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Yeah, I was going to say because Lynch is not making
Lynch makes
$900,000.
Lynch makes like two something like that.
That sounds about right.
Don't cite me on that. I shouldn't have said that out loud. Who gives a shit? Cool job. He could have gotten a lot more doing broadcasting. Let me tell you. So he's taking the haircut regardless. I would say that they have this year to get themselves off of a hot seat, and next in 26 would be the year where it's like you're saving your job or you're gone forever. So they have 2 years left.
2 years. Wow.
Well, they just used up one of their shitty years.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, it's reasonable. I mean, you don't get forever, but man, it's going to be interesting because who would Jed go to? I mean, who knows at this point?
Jim Tomsula is doing great stuff in Europe right now.
Stop. So overall, the Purdy deal. Let's make one last prediction on the way out. Okay, where does, in your mind, how does give me the Purdy deal end game?
The Purdy deal end game is
when does it? Yeah, when does it end? Does the deal get done? July, August, June, before, after, not at all?
I think it gets
3-year
done
deal, 4-year deal, guarantees. What are we looking at?
I think it gets done right after the draft, and I think it's going to be structured as like a 6-year deal, but really it's like a 2.5. Right? And there's a void year on there for the 6th, and then there's really the guaranteed money expires almost immediately. And there's player options, and this thing is kind of funny money to the bejesus. And I'll call it practically $49 million a year, going up to like 52, 53 with some bonuses, certain threshold bonuses. And I'll call it almost all guaranteed for like 2.5 years, after which it just falls off a cliff. So let's call it.
How much guaranteed?
Well, going 138.
Wow, that's even more than I thought. They're going to say like 110, 120.
No, you go 138. That buys you 2.5 years, almost 3 years.
Wow,
at like just about 50, 100. Because frankly, the easiest contract to do is, hey, we'll give you 3 years and like 120 million guaranteed right now, all guaranteed, everything up front. You just go cash the check. And we'll figure out everything on the back end. But you just go cash your $120 million check, go put it in this incredible stock market and have fun. Like, Brock wouldn't do it because he'd be like, or we could drag this thing out and you can have to pay me out your ears like $70 million a year when this is said and done, because I could Dak Prescott you. And we'll franchise tag, and I'll go hire athletes first and they'll work you over. I think that's what they want to do. I think they're going to Niners it, and it's going to have a bunch of booby traps and things like that. But I do think Brock gets his licks in, because the fact that hasn't been done yet tells you you're not dealing with somebody who's just going to take whatever's given to him.
Well, why should he? He
shouldn't. He shouldn't. He has all the leverage.
Fan base is on his side.
That's right.
He's probably got more leverage in this situation than they do. He saved their bacon, and they don't have. It's like they can't move on from him.
What's the first rule of negotiation? Whoever can leave the table has all the power. Brock Purdy can say, "I'm good. I'll play $5 million. Then you can franchise tag me, and then I'll do it again. You franchise tag me because I'm a quarterback and I'll live forever because the NFL is going to protect me. Your offensive line won't, but the NFL will.
Yeah,
I'll be fine. And there will always be someone willing. If Kirk Cousins can go get $100 million coming off a torn Achilles at age 36, you bet your ass I can get it $40 million on the free market. So I'll take my chances. What are you going to do, 49ers? They can't walk away. As you just said, they can't get rid of them. They can't do it.
All they can do is go to Mac Jones and say, Mac, be better here than you were in Jacksonville last year.
Mac Jones is going to get so much preseason time. It's going to be incredible.
Wow. I can only imagine what it's going to be like if Mac Jones looks good in the preseason. Oh my God. It's Mac Jones time. He was the guy they always wanted.
Yeah. I'm going to have to go on like a Buddhist Zen retreat or something.
God, that's going to be
silent
painful.
Retreat. Go full Aaron Rodgers, just silent retreat.
that's going to do it for us. Thanks to everybody. Let me thank the sponsors, Pig and a Pickle, 2 locations, Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week. Thanks to LearnKey as well, LearnKey Upskill Academy, 37 years in business. They're fantastic. If you need online learning, if you need to improve your value in the workplace and maybe get more skills so you can get a better job, and make more money and do better for your family, you might really benefit from this. So it doesn't matter if you're talking about cybersecurity, marketing, could be any high demand field. They offer over 30 certification programs to help you get job ready in 6 months or less. They've been in business for 37 years. They've worked with over 200,000 students. And what can I say? Really, really good company. They place over 100 students a month with brand new paying jobs, good paying jobs. So thanks to them. The link's in the description. Thanks to Claudaddy Arcades as well. Claudaddy in the chat. He's got his arcades in Southern California. He's got 3 locations down there. He's got a couple in the middle in Fresno and Modesto in the Valley, and he's got a Claudaddy Arcade opening in the Bay Area. And he's a great follow on Instagram. So follow him at Claw_Daddy_Arcades and find a location near you. And of course, thanks to Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles as well. 205 Cypress Avenue in Pacific Grove, California, along the Monterey Peninsula. Anthony Catania's at 831-521-5264. All right, that's going to do it for us. Dieter, when do you appear next? When are we going to hear you next? When is the draft guide? Is the draft guide going to be out? Can people get it?
Monday.
Draft
guide will be out Monday.
All right, and we will have one here in a hardbound or no, not hardbound.
I'll send you a PDF.
Send me something, and then what we'll do is we'll promote it.
Appreciate that.
And try to get people to sign up for it.
Easiest way to do it is become an official sicko on the Dieter and Hutch channel. And trust me, if you've sat through this much of the video, you're already in, baby. So join up, and we'll send it your way.
There you go. I admire a man who does his own draft guide. And it's hard to do. Believe me,
you shouldn't. You shouldn't. And you should neither do the draft guide nor admire anyone who does it. But I do appreciate that. Well,
I do. I admire you. I admire Dane Brugler, and he just put out the Beast. I just got it the other day. It's pretty amazing. I admired the great Joel Bushbaum, Nolan Naraki. It's hard to have all this knowledge, and when you put something in print, it's like you're putting it out there forever, and it's like official. Yeah, and there's something about it. It's stronger than a talk show or a stream. It's like there for people to kind of look at forever. So good stuff. We will definitely promote Dieter's draft guide. For Dieter, I'm Larry. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks for tuning into the Krug Show. Peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of.